Okay, there you go. Yep.
Hi, Twitch chat.
Mike should be live. I apologize, everyone, for running a bit behind. One more second. Let me make sure this is going to cooperate. Where'd it go? Okay. That's weird. Hang on. Where is this?
Well, at least this doesn't seem like it's too bad of one. Oh, wait, hang on.
What's that?
Hold up. I saw Claim 3. Carry on.
A claim 3? What are you
Claim
talking?
3 in the notes.
Oh, I think, are you on the Fallout notes?
Are we doing Fallout this week?
Yeah, I'm working on the next week's.
I was about to say, I think he might be on your.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is the one I'm gonna be like, what's
All right, just ignore me for a second. That's so weird. Where is my...
Hi, Kayla. Why don't you lay down? Lay down, baby.
I'm gonna drop that while I'm searching for my program window is
rocking out.
gone. Where did the program go?
Everything's breaking.
It's not broken. It's like literally, it just decided that it's like it's working fine. I just don't have it anywhere on my screen.
Potato. Hey, potato. Hi, Z. No nice things.
Where did he go?
Potato. Boil and mash them, stick them in a stew. Boil and mash them, stick them in a stew. I know, I don't deserve life.
I am so confused why that is working the way, but okay, whatever. Oh, that's gonna be a problem. That's weird. All right, hang on. Let's try. Come on, Winamp. What are you doing?
Not being foobar.
Well,
Jonathan.
it's weird. It's like working perfectly fine, but it won't show me the program. I'm looking
Excuse me?
Yeah, it's like it's working fine, but it's not showing me the program on the desk, so I don't have like any audio control at all.
That stinks.
I am so confused. All right, hang on. Let me see if
Jonathan's up at 4 a.m. over in Ireland. What are you doing? Go back to sleep.
What are those?
What are those?
Sorry, guys. I'm trying to...
Hey, Black Flag. So, even though I know we're talking about Fallout, I brought something up to Beard, and I want to know your guys' opinion. Beard's already chastised me a little bit.
I actually didn't even hear what you had asked me about because it's about how out of it I am, so...
Aww.
Okay. Are you talking to me or are you talking to the chat? Because
Chat. I'm talking to chat to fill time, so you have time
Thank
to work
you.
on stuff.
Yes,
yeah, it's not all about you, Blue.
Continue doing that thing.
So, I don't know how many of you follow Lowly Dev on Twitter, but he had done a bunch of recordings of the pilgrimage, the lore for the pilgrimage, when you go and you talk to one of the Techians and they send you to this place and you learn about the Dreaming City. Well, I was perusing that today because I was working on show notes for next week when we talk about Mara.
Mhm.
And there is a mention of a character that we had seen before. I think it came out in Warmind, didn't it, Beard?
No,
Was it
it was
before that?
vanilla. It was
Oh, it was
vanilla.
Vanilla D2.
Yep.
Wow. So, anybody remember the character Orin? Orin?
Mhm. Well, okay. I'm gonna stop listening now.
So,
What?
there's a line in the pilgrimage that says Queen's Foil. Orin the Lost stole several of these plants before she embarked on her fool's journey into the heliopause. I tried to warn her, but her curiosity was overwhelming. She did not listen to me. So, Orin is that is the card or the reference it was. There are two cards that are reference Orin. Maybe three? Was it three, Beard? We had
At
the
least
two main ones.
3 that we know of. There's like a questionable 4th and 5th, but
Yeah.
like
The
at least
most
3.
recognizable one that most
Mhm.
people will know is this one. It is the Long Walk, the sniper rifle from Trials. Well, Trials of the Nine.
Trials of the Not in the game anymore.
It's coming back,
Oh!
isn't it? Like they talked
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. They talked about it, but like I've been hoping for, you know, other things to come back. FWC, you know,
Right, any of the
yeah, you know,
factions.
yeah,
As well as the I'd like to see SRL. I don't know if it's
they've
emissary confirmed, Jonathan. It's one of those things where it is kind of implied, but at the same time, we don't have any knowledge of who she is.
uh,
And
I, I'm
you
confused about something here for a second. Hold up.
go for it
Can we look in Twitch chat, please, and see what is going on?
in Twitch chat.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you mean?
I don't hear us.
No?
No. Also, Bife is on the chat.
Oh, Blue, are we not live with
I don't think we're
them?
live.
Why? Yeah, we are.
Hang on.
Are we muted? Chat, can you
Wait a
hear
minute.
us?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I got it now. I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Did
I
you
see
open an
what.
archive?
No,
Thank you,
because
Vegemite.
it took a long time for the thing to come up that we were live, and for some reason it started auto playing. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that was.
I was
That
like,
was
Okay.
weird.
I mean, I am actively doing something with programs in the background, so it's like it's
Yeah, that's
completely
why I was like,
possible that
hang
I was
on.
jacking with the audio input, but
Well, that's why I was like, wait a minute, Blue, what are you doing? I think we have to abort
it's
like
I'm
hard right
pretty
now.
sure.
What is happening?
I was like, I'm pretty sure that wasn't it.
Yeah, really. All right, so now that I can actually see the real chat, I think.
Yes, you
Yeah, I
should
think we're
be able
good.
to.
I
We
think we're
have
good.
Jonathan,
I
Potato,
think I'm.
Vegemite, Z,
Yep.
Pens.
Yep. Yep. All right. I am currently done time traveling. I am back.
Yay! Beard's not last week.
Ye- Well, that's still really debatable. So, before I derailed everything.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So I don't know if we can say it's emissary confirmed. The only thing that we have about the emissary that would tie it to it is that Mara says, what was it, week 4? Or the 4th time we go to see her, or a 3rd time, that used to be a friend. She used to be a friend type thing.
mhm.
I don't know if we have any other confirmation of emissary versus not emissary on that, because we don't know if the emissary's name is Orin or got changed to emissary instead of being Orin.
Um, yeah, at least we can figure that something happened to Orin and this Namki fellow.
Mm-hmm.
We're still up in the air if Orin is in fact the emissary, but given the chat that said person has that then references Namki in the new 9 tab, the emissary one, it's looking a lot more probable so. Like, evidence is starting to point that way pretty heavily.
That's true.
I mean, there is always the indicative idea, of course, that we can argue that Namki and Orin could be known by like 50 million people for all we know, but...
Hashtag! Pew,
Yeah,
pew.
Vegemite, we're
Choo,
recording
choo.
extra chat or extra lore we're doing the Fallout episode tonight. So we are doing Focus Fire Chat. It's just our extra lore series where we talk about other games. So we're gonna do a little bit of lore on that tonight. Next week we're talking about Marasov though. And her update. And we're gonna go into exactly what we know happened from when she got killed and taken king all the way up to now.
Killed
Hopefully.
in quotes.
Yeah, well, I mean, she is dead, technically. It even says
Mm-hmm.
it in card.
Okay, here we go.
Thanks for the sub, Warren.
Well,
117. Fun story. They're at my gym.
They're probably getting overloaded with the sound. Hang on real quick. I'm
Okay.
trying to fix this. But I was just you know.
So, next extra lore is it dark? It's not Darksiders. It's this one. Thank you. Yeah, potatoes screaming. His ears. It's okay. Don't try your hardest. I'm just going to be entertaining.
do or do not. There is,
There is no try. Like a lot loud.
Yeah, I'm fixing it. There we go. All right.
I
Now we
can
got
hear
that.
you. I can hear the audio now.
Yeah, no, I know. I was. All right, there we go.
Okay, they got it.
Okay. God, I do not know why that was. Okay. We're gonna just put this right here. Okay.
No, not Darksiders. It's Dishonored.
Yeah, Dishonored is the next one. Okay, there we go. Okay, now I'm good.
Another
Fair
whiskey
warning.
pour. Ooh, whiskey sounds good. I have coffee, but I have some good whiskey now too.
If you think I'm gonna zone out for the Fallout one, boy oh boy am I gonna zone out for the Dishonored one.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna.
I
see
actually really
if,
like Dishonored.
I want to see if I can try to get Bife back on for Dishonored, because he has
That's
he's got a lot of investment in that actually.
It's a
It's
really
one
good
of
story
those-
too.
It's
Oh,
one
yeah,
of
no,
those
it's a
where the
Bethesda.
gameplay absolutely crippled my experience for enjoying that game.
What?
That
I don't know how
sucks.
that feels. Cough, cough.
Look, you. Nobody asked your
Recent,
opinion.
recent Twitter post. Anyways,
Salty blue is salty.
yeah, that's what I keep trying to reiterate too. It's like it's not saltiness. It's just I was just like I spent 3 hours and didn't do anything. So, like, fuck off. Okay.
Penge, what are you doing?
Hmm.
Pens.
Pens. Wow.
Pens.
2,200 bits. Thank you for the bits.
You trying to claim the throne again?
Is there a
Of course
bit
he
boss
is.
up?
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's been like highly contested for a while.
Well, Vegemite,
that
you
is-
missed the
that-
bit boss fight.
That's also my way of saying, hey, thanks for those bits.
Say
You're
thanks.
still nuts. Yes, I have a pen in my mouth to deal with it. Nah, say, nah.
Can't I just donate? AKA, I'm number one. Now he has the little gold badge next to his name.
Oh, Darksiders. Yeah, I think I need to add Darksiders, and then there was another one. Oh, I was gonna add Darksiders and Mortal Kombat to the list for the
Ooh.
poll.
Oh, now I could get into Mortal Kombat.
Because Mortal Kombat, I
They have
actually
a new one just released, right?
I just watched the trailer for Mortal Kombat 11, and I was like, I just need to sit down. Like Mortal Kombat 10, you can sit down and you can just watch that. Like you can just watch the game as a movie, and they're actually, the cool thing with them is that they're finally coming around to actually like fully embracing the long-standing mythology behind the game. So like Scorpion has this really, really detailed like origin story that's been there since like, I mean, they wrote a book about him when the first Mortal Kombat came out, and they just never acknowledged any of it. And so now all of a sudden, like you can see in the Raiden fight for Mortal Kombat 11, I was talking to a friend at work who's really big on the fighting games, and he said that actually they've been like going back and explaining Sub-Zero and Scorpion's like animosity towards each other since like I think it was 9 that they started like really actually diving into it. And so he's like, yeah, no, they're actually going back and fully explaining why all the characters are the way they are. And he said it's pretty nice because with them it's not like what is it? It's not Soul Calibur, it's God, I just blanked.
Tekken.
It's Tekken.
I can't believe
the one
what
that they're
I'm
just
seeing.
adding.
This
like,
is
a Korean
amazing.
Universe into.
Z. Wow.
Well,
Wow.
Oh, she's got a dawning crystal.
Yeah, she does.
She does. It's blue and it's pretty. Thanks,
Pens,
Z.
you have been dethroned.
Oh no, this is gonna get.
Please
Infested.
Please don't fight.
Infested, is that because I couldn't hear the music for the new Mortal Kombat? So I don't know the music selection. I also apparently need to watch the Anthem trailer, I guess. There's a new one of those. I got told that I have a list now of games that I'm watching. Book of the Dead looks amazing. Beyond Good and Evil 2, I'm slowly getting hyped for, like, the more I see of it. The Sinking City. Beard, have you seen this game?
Uh-huh.
Oh my god. It looks amazing. Yep. And A Plague Tale looks fascinating. I have no idea. I need to look into it, but it's and then Greedfall is still like out there. But yeah, Sinking City, I'm just like, oh my god, it's a Cthulhu game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god.
Oh no, it's like, oh god, the trailer is like, it's oh shit, what's the RPG for Cthulhu? It's
Age of Cthulhu?
No. It's the one that they introduced the madness schematic
Darkest
mechanic.
Yeah, the oh god,
Eternal Darkness?
It might. No, I didn't think it was that, because I know that one. Hang on.
Okay.
Elder Gods.
I didn't think it was Call of Cthulhu, but it might be Call of Cthulhu.
I mean, that one just came out.
That one was a board game, wasn't it?
It's been pretty much everything.
Because there's like, what is that? There's a word game.
Mm-hmm.
Unspeakable Words.
You've told me about that one.
That one is fun. Like, if you hate Scrabble, that game's for you.
Up a wall. It's the one. Great. God, is Call of Cthulhu the one where you're? I'm trying to figure out. It might be Call of Cthulhu.
There's also Elder Gods, or like, God.
No,
there's so many board games. This
is a tabletop RPG.
Okay.
I want to say it's a D20 system. It might not be D20 though. I don't want to. Fuck. It's oh god, bless it. It's not too old, but it's been out for a while.
I was gonna say Vampire the Masquerade and be immediately
Oh shit!
wrong.
No, that's. I mean, that is an amazing game in and of itself, but not
Yeah.
this one because that
But
one
I know
is
I'm wrong.
that's because of the whatever the Malkavians.
Uh-huh.
Age of Empires of all time. That's awesome.
I'm gonna go mad. Okay, anyways, let's do top 3 while I go
Ha!
and go
Yes.
do
Ha!
to.
He's
God,
gonna go mad.
I'm gonna go mad.
Ha!
Yes, I know.
But
It's the one where it's. Oh my god, this is so annoying.
Try to use your words, Blue. Maybe I can help.
It's the one that's like you play as in the asylum. It might be Call of Cthulhu. I might just not be thinking of.
I
It had
mean,
a
there is
very.
an
It
older
had a.
Call of Cthulhu
Oh wait, yep,
game.
it's Call of Cthulhu. No, it's Call of Cthulhu.
Okay.
Because it's
Yeah.
the picture that I have is Cthulhu coming out of the well with the
Uh-huh.
yep, it's Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, you're good. Okay. All right. I still enjoy Eternal Darkness.
Oh yes.
Very much.
I mean, you want to talk about before we get off on that tangent, let's go talk about bacon food.
bacon.
Wait, no. Let's talk about how we can add that to the extra lore topics.
Oh yeah,
Cthulhu?
Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu. Yeah, we can add.
No, we can just Eternal
Technically, we
Darkness.
could even do like
Eternal
D&D
Darkness
in general.
Well, we did do D&D in general. I had to
Yeah.
restrict it to Forgotten Realms though.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Okay, cool. All right. I will do that. And all right. Do you want to do? Okay, I'm gonna start recording. Are you ready, Green?
Yep.
Here we go.
Welcome to FFC Top 3, a show where we, your FFC hosts, count things down from 3 to number 1. Thank you for joining us this week. If you have a suggestion for a topic for Top 3, be sure to drop us a note on Twitter at FocusFireChat, in our Discord, or on our email, focusfirechat@gmail.com. This week, we are going to discuss our top 3 bacon-infused or bacon-incorporated foods. I think Bife got a little jealous that we're talking about this one. He was real excited about it. Real excited.
Well, if he was excited about it, he would have been here now, wouldn't he?
Don't
That's
challenge
true,
him. Granted,
No,
it's like
but
4
I-
a.m. It
but
is
look,
4 a.m.
right.
for him.
He's been doing good with his sleep schedule. I don't want him to
Yeah,
go
let's
off
not
on that.
mess him up.
But I can still go ahead and say that if he cared that much, he'd be here.
But bacon. The
Sending
ultimate.
the mixed messages, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know. We can send this to him later as like a present. Be like, we missed you.
Yeah,
Here's all
bye.
the bacon.
Yeah, and then he'll just be like, "Oh,
No. I do have a prerequisite for this one, and I hope it doesn't mess either of you two up.
oh,
You
oh." Now
cannot-
she puts in the prerequisites. Of
Yes,
course
I'm
she
gonna
does.
make. Yeah, because I'm gonna make.
I'm pretty
it hard
sure
on
I
you.
know. I'm pretty sure I know what the prerequisite is gonna be.
You cannot just say bacon.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm.
That is the only thing I'm saying. You cannot say bacon
Okay,
by
all right,
itself.
that's
It has
fine.
to have
Sure.
something else with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't remember who went first last week because it always is weird. So I'm going to go first this week, and I'm going to make Beard go last and make Blue go second.
This is dangerous.
So my number 3 bacon incorporated food is something that my wife makes that is bacon wrapped dates. And what this is a sweet and salty goodness of a date that has been pitted, stuffed with goat's cheese, wrapped in bacon, and baked. Don't knock it until you try it. It is absolutely fucking delicious.
I mean, baked bacon is acceptable.
Baked bacon and sweetness, like candied bacon. That's basically what it is, with a little bit of goat's cheese. It's delicious. She makes it for we'll hostess things every once in a while, like game nights, and she really enjoys making it. It's so good. It's actually super simple. The only thing you need is like toothpicks. That's it. Like put the toothpicks in it so it holds it together, and it's great. But yeah, that is my number 3. So, Blue, What is your number 3
Number
bacon?
3 for me is a cheeseburger.
A bacon cheeseburger.
Yep.
Mm.
I'm not inventive. I just really enjoy eating it. I mean, my approach to food is why do you need to make it super complicated? It's just, nom
I mean,
nom nom.
eat to live, don't eat to don't yeah, eat to live, don't live to eat. There we go.
Right. Yeah.
There you
I
go.
mean, I annoy most people because I view food as basically just fuel. So it's like, oh yeah, if it tastes good, that's definitely an added bonus,
Mhm.
but it's not 100% necessary.
Right.
I mean, I need good texture because if
Yeah,
it's all on
texture is
then
extremely more
blah.
texture is extremely more important to me than taste.
I like good flavors though. Like you can get like a really good bacon cheeseburger. I just want to be able to taste all the different flavors that are going on because it's just so it can be done really well and can be done really terrible.
Oh, I agree 100%. I'm just saying, like, for me, it's gonna be this list is gonna be pretty
Straightforward.
basic as far
Okay.
as like what's on it.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Beard. Number 3 for you?
So your prerequisite was that I couldn't just say bacon, right?
Yeah. It has
Yeah,
to be with
okay.
something else.
That's fine. So turkey bacon. I win.
God, you and my wife. She gets turkey bacon, and I just like I come down. I'm like, yay, bae! What is that?
So okay, real quick on that one. I do actually prefer turkey bacon versus regular bacon for health reasons, for one. Secondly, because of the way that it cooks. It cooks a lot more evenly than what you will typically find out of usual bacon. And that is my biggest reason for liking turkey bacon as much as I do.
Oh yeah.
But that being said, I will personally make it. But if they're serving regular bacon elsewhere, I'm certainly not going to scoff. I just prefer making turkey bacon. But to be on the fair side, I'll actually kind of go a little bit more with that. Turkey hoagie with bacon, American cheese, lettuce, onion, pepper, and oregano, and yeah, that's my hoagie. Also, Rip Krillin.
Rip what? Krillin?
Rip Krillin. He
Why?
never got his hoagie. He never got his hoagie.
He never.
I'm never gonna get my hoagie.
Never got his hoagie.
I never realized they never finished that gag. Like that's
Oh,
still
no,
going on.
that
What are you
was-
doing? Thwarting my plans.
That was the entire point. Was like he never got it.
That's disgustingly sad for him.
Uh-huh. I'm never gonna get my hoagie.
I'm never gonna get it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so turkey bacon. I'm still like you. Oh man. All right. So
I mean, look, you told me the prerequisite was it
I
couldn't just be
did.
bacon, so guess what? I'm gonna be technical with you. We all know how I am. Let's be
Motherfucker.
honest here for a second.
All right. So number 2. This one, bacon can be used in the process of making it, but a lot of times it's just used as a topper, and it's baked potato soup with bacon crumbles on top. So good. I may be kind of craving it at the moment because it's so cold here. We've had a couple of snows this week alone. So I'm really wanting some baked potato soup because it's delicious and the bacon is kind of what makes it for me. So that one's my simple one. My last one's not so simple, but blue. Simple
Eggs.
one, number 2. Eggs and bacon. I can see that. That's a good one. I like some good eggs and bacon.
Look, it's not just you see it, it's in a menu anywhere you go that happens to have the word diner in it.
There's a
Right.
reason for that too, because it's freaking delicious.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Pretty much my
Okay.
breakfast.
So here's my question. Do you guys prefer your bacon a little soft or a crispy?
Crispy.
I actually like it crispy, but I'm not gonna say. I mean, I will not say no, especially if it's like eggs. I won't mind. I don't mind it because I know a lot of people prefer it like. So I don't understand why
Softer.
you do that, but whatever. But if
I
you
mean,
have it
it's
with
already
eggs,
cured.
if you have it with eggs, it just as long as it's there, I don't care.
Thick cut or thin cut?
Thick.
Like, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with both of you on it. I like my bacon baked, which is a lot easier to clean up because you don't have splatter all over the place and it doesn't smoke.
Yeah, but it doesn't. See, I
You
think
can get it crispier if you have like
no, no,
a
no, no.
bread
You
rack.
can. I think it tastes different though.
I don't think so.
But I'm
I think it
also
tastes.
really like finicky about that. Like
Mm,
I don't know. Like that's one of the things I previously said, taste isn't a huge thing, but I do notice like weird things about
Oh yeah.
taste. And I do think that if you bake it, it does taste a little bit different than if you fry it.
Well,
right.
texture is very different too. You're not
Yeah,
getting
and
a
I
lot
think
of like
that's
the fat,
maybe
like
that might
I
be
right.
really
what I'm picking up on is more the texture difference.
okay.
Which funny enough actually falls in with mine for number 2. But anyway.
Yeah, it's your turn, so go for it.
Oh, okay. I forgot whose turn it was.
Hmm.
So it's kind of a dual layered idea here, but bacon wrapping over chicken,
Mm-hmm.
and you put it in tinfoil, and you throw it
Delicious.
in the oven. Really good.
Mm-hmm.
But that way, everything kind of just stays together. You don't have a lot of it evaporating out into the oven. But that is definitely the best way that I kind of like it. But yeah, chicken wrap bacon is delicious, especially if you can slather it in some barbecue sauce. I'm good with that.
I actually really hate barbecue sauce.
You are probably the devil then.
It's fine.
Like, well, like
Okay. Let me
that's a weird.
specify that. Let me.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a weird statement too, because barbecue sauce is a really broad term.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I like a very vinegar heavy barbecue sauce. I really can't stand the really sweet brown sugar barbecue sauce that you get in like
Yeah.
Kansas City.
Oh yeah.
I
No,
can't do it. I
I'm right
can't do
there
it.
with
It's
you.
too sweet. I like
Um,
a more of a bite to it.
though I will be honest, the barbecue sauce that's made with Dr Pepper is like the exception to my distaste for sweet
Mm-mm,
barbecue.
mm-mm,
Simply
mm-mm.
because, well, okay, because what we usually do when we go home and we have barbecue at home is they
Mm-hmm.
will make ribs, and they
Mm-hmm.
basically marinate it and then like just bake the crap, like they basically smoke, grill, whatever you want it, whatever however you want it, but it doesn't it's actually like caked on to the ribs, so it's got
Mm-hmm.
like a I don't know. It's not like the like when you think barbecue sauce, you know how you think it's like a moist thing. It's actually kind of baked onto it, so it actually
Mm-hmm.
gets in, and you can really taste the Dr Pepper in it, which is kind of weird, but it's oh my gosh, it's so good.
I can see that. I just am not a huge sweet fan, and you can ask Julie. Like when we're getting like she'll make all the sweet stuff, and I don't touch it. We had leftover cheesecake from Thanksgiving because my sister-in-law brought it. I never touched a piece of it because that's just not my thing. I prefer like something with more bite whenever I'm snacking on things.
Ow.
But that being said, that brings us to our number ones. And my number one, I've actually talked on the show. I'm pretty sure it was during a recording. It may have been pre-show, but I remember having this conversation with Justin, and it's for armadillo toes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what these are?
No, but I
So,
remember this conversation.
armadillo toes are they're called different things in different places. It's a thing that my family likes to make that is jalapenos that have been cored out, like sliced in half, cored out, all the seeds are gone. You can stuff it with cream cheese and then you wrap it with bacon and grill them. So they're nice and you get the nice kind of grill smoky flavor on the bacon and then you get the nice cooked jalapenos. So you have heat and cheese and bacon. In other words, on my list, if you can't tell, I like the combination of cheese and bacon. That is my go-to. That is kind of my wheelhouse. It's so good. But the story that I told with Justin was that my mom used to do a really, really mean thing to us kids when we were growing up. Is she would take all of the seeds and all of the veins from inside of the jalapenos, and she would mix it in to the cream cheese at the very bottom. So she'd already put all the cream cheese and everything, wrap them up. She'd put all of it in one. So all the heat goes into one stinking jalapeno and one toe. And if you were the unlucky one, you had to finish it. It was like Russian roulette with food.
Death.
Yeah, it was so bad. I got it like 3 times growing up, and it's just like you're crying because it hurts so much.
So for those of you playing the home game and not understanding why that is, that when it comes to peppers, that's actually where the heat is. It's in the seeds and the ribs more than, it's not actually, because like if you take all that stuff out of a jalapeno, jalapenos are actually pretty sweet. Like,
they can be, yeah.
Yeah,
especially roasted.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, but as soon as you start being like, yeah, we're going to take all the seeds, that's when you just are like, you either embrace the pain or you pull the ripcord quick because it's gonna get intense.
The problem is that it's not only hot going in, it's also hot going out later.
Yeah,
so
it's not pretty.
It's a double whammy. My mother is kind of a sadist at times, guys. It's just one of the amusing things you grow up with. But that is my number 1, which takes us to blues. What's yours?
Stew.
What kind of stew?
Any stew.
Any stew?
Yeah. So we, given like that both my wife and I work, we do a lot of crockpot recipes, which during winter is really awesome because if you've ever had stew and it's really cold outside, it's just like, I don't know, it just makes it taste that much better. But one of our favorite stew recipes is actually a sweet potato and like it's just sweet potato, onions, carrots, hamburger, and then bacon on the top of it inside a crock pot, and it's just delicious. But yeah, most of the stews you can throw bacon bits into, and it just makes the taste it just makes it taste a little bit better in my opinion. It's not anything that's like 100% like, oh yeah, this has bacon. It's just, it brings out the taste a little bit more.
Makes it a little bit more savory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is always a victory.
Yeah, totally. Beard, you're gonna round us out for number 1. What's your number 1 favorite bacon infused food?
Please, here we go. All right,
yeah,
it's not that big.
Okay.
It's a barbecue chicken pizza with bacon.
Wait,
what was that?
Say that again.
Barbecue chicken pizza with
bacon.
Oh,
okay.
Okay, so
I heard something. I heard
something else.
I heard something completely different. But yes, that does.
Look, I didn't say ham and pineapple. I'm not letting beers blow
No,
the planet.
no, it was even weirder than that. I heard you say barbecue shake with bacon, and I was like, "The hell are you? What?"
Do you remember when Sonic did that? They had that bacon shake.
Yeah, they still do. Yeah, peanut butter and bacon.
I've never tried it. I'm too scared.
I haven't tried that particular one. Jack in the Box did a maple bacon milkshake that was. I got a free one because they're like, come try it. And I'm like, it's free. I'm gonna try it. It wasn't terrible. It was like I got a small and I finished like half of it, and that was probably enough. And then like the rest of it, I couldn't finish it because it was like it was like a liquid smoke / syrup that they were trying to make the milkshake flavored with.
Gross.
And no, I mean, like I said, it was okay, but it was not something that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get a large of these. That sounds like a terrible idea. I've heard that the peanut butter and bacon shake at Sonic was actually really, really good. but it also depends on as it is often the case with Sonic, it depends on the location. If they don't if they don't know what they're doing, it's not gonna end well. Let's just put it that way.
There was also the Denny's did that whole like 6 months where everything on their menu was like a bacon thing, which I'm like, why?
Oh, but talking about the barbecue chicken, if you guys are ever and Green, you might know about this. If you're ever in this area, the Minsky's pizza in the Kansas City area, I'm not sure if that's elsewhere, but the Minsky's that are in these areas have an amazing barbecue chicken with bacon pizza. It's really, really good. It's one of the few barbecue pizzas that I actually don't mind.
Barbecue pizza, just barbecue anything at this point. I'm just like, I could take it or leave it. But that, there's so many different bacon things at this point that you can get. Like I don't know. It just seemed like bacon used to be boring, and now they're putting it on everything.
Well, that's because everyone who was in love with bacon grew up. and now we're the captain. We're the captain now.
We're the captain now. Gross. All right. So that brings us to the end of this one for top 3. Next week, I guess, we have next week still. I'm trying to remember our schedule.
Yep, next week, and then we'll be on break.
Right. So this one has a prerequisite too, because it's similar to ones that we've done before, but I'm going to make sure that it's not going to exactly line up with what we did before. And we're going to do favorite childhood cartoons. So childhood, I'm going to stop childhood at age 9. So 9 and under, your favorite cartoons, childhood cartoons from 9 and under.
Yeah, that one would still work. Yes.
Are you still gonna put Dragon Ball Z in there?
Are you kidding? Why wouldn't you? It's still on there.
Oh my gosh, you guys! I wanted to get something different.
Wait. It would not be Dragon Ball Z. To be fair,
it'd be Dragon.
It would be Dragon Ball.
No, DBZ was actually on during.
Was there really?
It was like it was all reruns. It was all in the morning. It was not prime time whatsoever. But it was on.
I don't think I saw. I don't know. I can't remember when I first saw DBZ.
But I am thinking of something else entirely, and it's made by Spielberg.
Okay, good.
Approved.
Starts with an A. I know what you're gonna say. All right. Anyway. Thank you for joining us for top 3. You got a preview for next week. And remember, that's my dog signing off for us. Everybody loves a list. I agree with Grundy. DB was way... Yeah, I know. I was like...
To the max.
I've had more references to Animaniacs this last week. Like, we were talking about Pinky and the Brain.
Hello?
I can't believe what
yeah,
I'm
that
seeing.
one too.
This is amazing.
Oh my gosh. Pins, what are you doing? Aaron is going to kill you. Aaron is going to kill you.
Well, everybody, that man is dead.
Z. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to grab one.
Z, it's a
Yeah.
trap. Z, it's a trap. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Hall of the Old Shows. See, like, okay. Animaniacs count. That's fine with me. Like, I was just trying to get something from youth that is more, that's not like anime. And I know that may still show up on your list, but we did the anime episode and I was trying not to go anime again.
I mean, we could do what I did with my ghost.
What did you do with your ghost?
Ice knows this one. Ice Hawk in chat knows this one very well. Because whenever I pull out my ghost, I go womp 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 womp.
Oh. That's a good show. Oh my god.
I can't believe what I'm
Z!
seeing. This is amazing.
No! Why? Why? Why you two? Why you two? You too bad. And by bad, I mean thank you. Still bad. Batman is my new answer. Batman is always the answer. Although, shame on me, I have actually never seen Batman the Animated Series.
We're not friends anymore.
It's fine.
We're not friends anymore.
I've
There
seen
are too
like
many
one
things
episode.
you and I have not that you have not seen that I need your nerd card for, and we cannot talk until you get your life together.
I get my life together and
Yes,
spend,
because
like,
that's
3
exactly
hours
what that
watching, like-
causes. All right.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Rocco's Modern Life? Why not? I didn't really watch Rocco's, but
I can't believe what I'm
I mean,
seeing. This is amazing.
Oh, Z.
she's like sealing the deal right now. What are you doing, Z?
What are those?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I have no
Chat,
idea
you
why
guys are
that fits
crazy.
for like everything, but it fits for everything.
Mark Hamill as Joker. Yeah, I do remember like listening to him do Joker and being really, really scared. Like he had some of the best Joker lines. Thanks for the sub, Wicked. Sub for 3 months in a row.
I'm just looking at those bit counts going, no.
I know, right?
No.
That is a
Alright,
lot
like-
of freaking bits.
Does everybody understand how much that costs?
I don't understand why this is happening. Right?
Jeez.
Do you see it? Do you see it, Blue? What Z
Yeah.
did? That's a lot of freaking bits.
All the bits.
If I was doing like my normal thing, and we're not recording, right? That's fine
No,
for me
not
to
yet.
say it. It's like that's way too many biddies. That's a lot of biddies. That's my not PG way of saying thank you for the bits.
There might be a point where there's too many bits.
There are way too big of bits right now.
I think we've hit the point.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Z, there is a point where you
Z's
overdo
just smiling. Oh my
it.
gosh.
She's just like, look what I did. I'm making green and beard go.
You
Two
can
big
ne-
bits,
you,
yeah.
You
Oh,
can never
God.
have. You can never have. Never mind.
Yes, you can. You could totally have.
No,
it can
false.
cause back problems.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
as no. We're gonna
You
table,
are a
we're
male.
gonna table.
You cannot,
We're gonna
you
table this
cannot-
conversation
you
before I
cannot
get myself
actually
in
contribute
trouble.
You need to actually like what you need to do if you want to experience this. Grab your wife's bra and put water balloons in it and walk around like that for a while. A day. Julie just said a day.
I
don't
love
know if you
it.
can hear
I love
that.
in the background. A day.
Yeah, I mean it is not pleasant to have large chest.
Chesticles.
Chesticles. No. Risen Phoenix. We need pictures of that. Yeah. That needs to be like a I don't know, a challenge. Oh my gosh, Icehawk. Thank you.
Rawr, rawr, rawr.
Everyone's banding together to take down Z. Oh, Icehawk did it. Icehawk took it down.
Uh-huh.
How?
The Bit Boss?
Because it takes into consideration follows and subs as well. And Wicked subbed with a tier 1. Thank you, Wicked, by the
Mhm.
way. There goes Pins.
So
God damn it.
Pins.
Pins.
Pins! I'd like to see you at Guardian Con alive.
I
Z!
can't believe what I'm seeing. This is
Jesus!
amazing.
You guys! What are you doing?
Show's over. If we carry this on, people are gonna go bankrupt. We gotta stop the show. Stop it. Just shut it down. Shut it
What
down.
are you doing? What are you doing? Oh my god.
Oh my god. Too late. The dead boss is real. That's what we should rename it.
Oh my god, you guys. You
This
guys
is
are
the
killing
perfect,
me.
This is a perfect end of the week.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just sitting here going, what is wrong with all of you? In the nicest way possible, but like, what is wrong with all of you?
You guys have some serious things to work out.
I'm just,
Oh my gosh. Oh. Right now on the recording, Z's still up there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she's
She's currently at 12,000, so.
Oh my gosh, Z. Oh man, Vegemite, it has been a while since you've been in chat. I'm glad you stopped by. I
You
am
know,
glad.
whose life problem is that?
It's... Oh my goodness.
Clearly pretty much everybody's. Like,
Uh-huh.
just to get that out there.
You need this, Z? I'm glad I'm assuming you're out now. I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
yeah.
That is not a pleasant thing to have to work through. Not at all. 2 more weeks. Damn. Well, we will keep you in our thoughts for sure.
Thoughts
and for
and
those people
prayers.
who prayers. Yeah. And wishes and whatever else voodoo to make sure you stay better. I mean, whatever you do, keep you in mind. I'm glad she's going to Guardian Con, right?
Yes. Yeah, we've talked about that.
That girl is going to get like a piggyback ride from me. That's kind of an awkward way to say I'm going to give her a hug and then just carry her around because she's so small, but it'll work.
But will that work?
Yeah, she could fit in my backpack. I am not that small, Blue.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be battle of the small people over here.
Hey!
Actually, it's more so gonna be battle of the tempers because I really want to see who's gonna win on that one.
Oh, she will. I'll just mom zone you guys. Lore mom it. No, actually, purple.
I can't believe what I'm
Purple will
seeing.
lore
This
mom.
is
Purple's got
amazing.
way more
I was
cred
about
on
to
that
say,
than I
yeah.
do. Wicked. Jeez, you guys.
Hey, Ice, you've been dethroned.
Yikes. Yikes.
I love the fact that you can attach emotes to the bits. That's cracks me
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
up. What was
Hey.
it doing?
Hey, look, guys! Wicked's fire in his blah!
Speaking of Guardian Con, Beard, you're gonna be there Wednesday, right?
Yes.
What
Like
day is
you'll be
that?
there Wednesday is the 3rd.
Oh,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
I know
trying to. Yeah.
I know Blue and I will be.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say. I think I know that we're gonna plan on being there on the 3rd. I don't know what day that is.
That is Wednesday. Because Thursday's the 4th.
No.
Which, by the way, you guys need to thank my wife because her birthday is on July 5th. And she is very, very graciously sending me off with love that I'm going to be there.
Yay!
Mm-hmm.
Have fun making it up for that one.
Oh, I've already got plans for that. It's not we're already planning a different little vacation for the two of us, so that is not a big deal. Yeah, I know. The fact that it's on the 4th does make it a little harder for everybody. I haven't decided.
Yeah, but it's
Or,
in
like,
Orlando, so it's still gonna be cheaper.
Yes, and it's going to be like everything's going to basically be cheaper that weekend in some respects because of the holiday weekend and the theme parks and all the there. I mean, we're going to be right next to SeaWorld. They have the fireworks at SeaWorld.
we're right across the street from SeaWorld.
But I haven't heard from the clan yet. I know a lot of the people from my clan are going to be there, and we might be doing a clan night
Oh, nice.
Wednesday night. And I didn't know if we wanted to do something with FFC kind of as well, like on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll see if the
Yeah, we can do that. Definitely.
On Thursday.
Also, Matt Grundy.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Grundy, do you want to know something?
Are we?
Yes.
No, I mean, are we allowed?
I don't think we're allowed to say the big part of it. No, on Beard. I think Bife is wanting to keep that part secret.
Look you.
Bife will
I know how to keep a secret. Okay, I run a YouTube channel. I know better than most to keep my mouth shut about many things, unless they infuriate me. In which case, you all know how that went. Meanwhile,
he makes
Matt
a video
Grundy,
about it.
Yes. Meanwhile, Matt Grundy, let me inform you, yes, there will be.
Yes, there will be for sure. Pens. Me and Issacle in the same room. Yeah, we were actually planning on rooming together possibly until Blue messaged me about the hotel at the convention center. Wicked's gonna be out there.
On his third channel.
Why, Wicked? Why, Wicked? Wicked is being weird. We're not talking about that.
Pens, it doesn't stop there. Cole, Green, and Z in the same room? I'm already scared. I'm already scared.
It's gonna be amazing.
I am probably gonna have to leave the room.
Man at arms questions.
Yes!
Oh my god, if he comes back. It's over.
I'm making Man at Arms and cold meat. Like that is my goal.
Excuse me, Mr. Bife.
Oh my gosh.
Have you ever seen my video about how an American explains what an Australian is? No.
Did you see his
the best
tweet
one
the other
was
day?
the explanation of Satan?
Oh, Lord.
Did you see his tweet the other day about how he's big in Australia?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Dude,
For any of you who don't know, Man at Arms is also very small. Like he's a small person.
He was so happy that he's big in Australia.
Just like, oh my god.
He's legitimately one of the nicest, most stand up for you people like ever. And
Man at Arms also does not mince words when he means.
No, I mean if you listen to his channel, you're gonna figure that out real fast. But yeah, he.
Vegemite, if you go into Focus Fire Chat and you go to FFC social events, it's under info and announcements. You can put out there if you need a roommate or anything like that to see if anybody else is going. That's the channel we use to help set that kind of stuff up. So if you want to do that, you should be able to at least get possibly some feedback that way. I know some people have done it via Twitter, though I don't necessarily trust people off of Twitter for that kind of thing. But that is an opportunity.
Ice. I told you my fireball story, did I not?
Oh! There's a really good... I was talking about this with somebody earlier. There's a really good distillery in town that does a fireball-like whiskey, but it's not sugary sweet. It's delicious, though. It's so good. You need to come up here, Blue. Bring Anna. We'll take you on the
We're waiting for the Hyperloop to get installed.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because as soon as that gets installed, it's gonna be, that's gonna be. Okay, let's get this show on the road. I think this one will probably be a pretty actually straightforward one.
Okay.
Because I have most of the stuff already kind of figured out.
Because the only 2 good games that came out were before Bethesda got it.
We'll agree to disagree.
Yeah, okay.
Because I mean, well, it's just, again, it's from a mechanic standpoint. I can definitely see the argument a couple different ways. Again, I work with a couple people, actually, I work with are really big Fallout fans. And so we've had actually this past month has been pretty interesting at work because I've been having conversations about the continuity arguments with all of them. It's, yeah, you want to see like really, really freaking confusing discussions. Go look up the continuity arguments for Fallout. Like
bet.
Mostly it's because, as with most titles who have been around since freaking 97, which even then the first Fallout was a sequel. It was a sequel in spirit to a RPG. So it's like this thing's been around for a very long time, and it's also gone through the hands of at least 3 or 4 different developers. So yeah, continuity is not really a thing that exists in Fallout. So we will, Super Mutants. They just got Super Mutants and the Brotherhood apparently just got big retconned in 76. They changed the I know with Brotherhood they changed the year of its induction. They brought it forward. They brought the Brotherhood back to the beginning of, which we'll get into probably a little bit. And then I think their explanation of the Super Mutants inside 76. Well, first off, 76 is arguably not canonical because it's an MMO. But there's apparently Super Mutants present, which is kind of weird. But yeah. Okay, cool. All right, Green's grabbing a cup of coffee real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and we'll kick off. Hopefully she will be back by the time I get done with the intro. So here we go. Today's chat is brought to you by the support of all our Twitch subscribers. Through the patronage you provide the Focus Fire chat team through the Twitch platform, we are able to provide you with the weekly podcast as well as the website and other aspects of Focus Fire chat. If you have any interest in becoming a subscriber of the FFC and gaining access to some exclusive features over in the Discord server, please be sure to visit our Twitch account and click on the subscribe button. If you're an Amazon Prime member, remember that you do have a free subscription to Twitch every month that can be used for this. And for those of you who are already subscribers, thank you again for your generosity. You may have heard the whispers of guardians gathering in the shadows, exploring the mysteries of this world and the worlds which surround us. We are all in search of truth. Sometimes we need to focus that search, focus that fire. And so we come together. Join us. Join the discussion. Welcome to Focused Fire Chat. Welcome back for episode 33 of Extra Lore, recorded live on December 6, 2018, over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. As always, I want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Our topic for tonight's episode is going to be a look at the series of Fallout. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. We just had a massive bit war happen, so I appreciate, again, a big shout out to the live chat for that. But first, let's run through a quick introduction of those on the show for tonight. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86. Next up, we have our own master of social media, the one and only Green-Eyed Music Lover. Green, I hope you're doing well. How has the week treated you so far?
It's good. It's ending strong. Like, my Friday started out kind of bleh, but the chat and all the discussion and top 3 where we talk about bacon, it's just a good ending to the week. So I'm excited for this weekend. I've got something special, kind of my own like mini announcement here at the beginning. Something special that I'm working on that should be coming out in the next couple of weeks for you guys, with the help of a few FFC members who have been helping me out with this. But yeah, it's been good. I don't know. I can't complain.
Nice. Well, rounding out the usual team, we have our good buddy, the lore content cop himself, Beard Grizzly. Beard, how are you doing?
Disappointed in myself.
Why?
Because, Green, you reminded me of something.
Why?
I forgot to take advantage of one of the best options and best moments to do it. And that's to quote the Bacon Strips commercial.
Oh my
It's
god.
bacon!
Oh my god. Yeah, you didn't do that.
I am so
I'm
disappointed
disappointed in
myself.
you.
I'm just
so
gonna hang my head
disappointed in
shame.
myself.
I'm entirely disappointed in myself now for not quoting that. Like all of my fair YouTubers wit. It's over. Like that's it. I may as well just close up one of my 5 channels and just move on.
Just one of your 5. Wow, we've never even assigned you 5. The most you've gotten from us is 3.
Well, I mean, we also have to take it. I mean, he's right. We didn't take into account his cooking channel and then the bacon fanatics channel. So
The Bacon Fanatics, is that the one that's like with the dog also, like your pet? What is it, Scooby?
I mean, we could do that. Are you talking about Shadow?
Oh yeah, Shadow. That's what it is.
What? How do you get Scooby from Shadow?
I mean, a dog that likes bacon, which is like
I already
dog.
told us to close down this chat for the night. Between the bit war that's happening over here that's going to make people go broke, and now Green infuriating me or making me disappointed in myself, this is starting off great. I think we should redo this.
Turn it around now, guys.
I'm kidding, by the way. Yeah, let's
move on.
Anyway.
Oh man. Well, I know that everyone here read that as me is looking forward to diving into the discussion. So let's run through our standard intro notes and we'll get right into it. In our last Extra Lore episode, we took a brief look at Cyberpunk 2077. If you ever miss an episode and would like to catch up, please be sure to check out FocusFireChat.com for archives, articles, and links to the other aspects of Focus Fire Chat. If you don't mind, please rate and, if you can, review the show on iTunes, Podbean, or whichever podcasting app you use to enjoy a podcast. Reviews in particular are extremely helpful as they help us show up on the charts, and that helps others find the FFC community. To those of you who have already taken the time to leave us a review, thank you. As many of you already know, Focus Fire Chat is a cross-community gathering where the intent is to offer a week-long, in-depth view of a particular subject from within the lore of Destiny and other games. With the Extra Lore series, we delve into a game series other than Destiny for a full month, giving the group a chance to get a feel for the other games that our community loves to play. As with the normal chat topics, Extra Lore is decided by the community through a monthly poll. After the month's discussion has come to an end, we get together to stream a high-level summary of the chat for those who were unable to participate. Please be sure to also give some support to the other podcasts in the Guardian Radio Network, links of which can be found on our website. If you're a fan of lore in all its various forms, be sure to also check out thelorenetwork.com, where you can find a wide variety of some amazing content that covers a number of different titles and mediums. Extra Lore for December is going to be a discussion on the lore of Dishonored, so be sure to jump into the Discord server and weigh in. With all that out of the way, where does everyone think that the best place to start is when we're looking for a really basic understanding of Fallout?
Start and end after the first 2 games. That's it. That's where we can stop. That's it. That's it. Bethesda got after the first 2 games, Bethesda picked it up. All right, Tactics was in there too, but after the first 2 games,
I was about to say,
Bethesda picked it up.
Tactics was totally in there.
There was no breath between those 2 things, by the way.
Beard might have an opinion on this.
I might have opinions about Bethesda as a company. But
and to be fair, like Interplay did a really good job, and that's kind of, and I mean, we were kind of talking about this before the show too. Is Fallout is a game that has been around for 21 years now. It was first released in
yeah.
97, so that's 21 years.
Uh-huh.
And that was, and Fallout arguably was a game that the first title that was released was a spiritual successor, I guess you could say, since they didn't technically have legal rights to do this, but it was a spiritual successor to an RPG that went by the name of Wasteland.
Right.
And that's where like a lot of like the Mad Max-esque aesthetics, which we'll kind of get into here in a second, that's where it kind of gets its inspiration from. And so it was, I mean, there's a very long history of the Fallout series. And over that history, it has changed hands of, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Hang on, I have this written down. It has changed hands 3 times for as far as like a developer publisher is concerned. Now, as far as like pure developer, there's been 4 or 5 because there's a couple different side games that aren't considered really within the continuity of the actual overall series. I'll mention them, but we're not going to spend a lot of time on them because there's, as far as canonical content, there's not really a lot in them. But the initial developer was Interplay Entertainment, which was from 97 to 2004. And then there was 14 Degrees East in 2004, and then Bethesda from 2004 to present. Now, also in there, you have Black Isle, which was a kind of a... There's a lot of evolution as far as like breaking the fourth wall business-wise. But that kind of goes to explain the thematic changes in tone that you see within Fallout 2, and especially from those two into Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4. There's a lot of different developmental, I really wouldn't call it like friction, but there's different approaches to the content. And that's where you kind of see a change in the thematic presentation of them, which again we'll get into here in a second. But yes, there's a reason that this is like this is something we were talking about right before the recording. Being not even participating in, but like reading arguments about the continuity argument for Fallout, like as a series in a whole, is just bizarre. Like Fallout is one of those games that at the same time it is super serious about some things. It doesn't take itself super seriously, which is arguably one of the biggest problems with Fallout 2, because there was a lot of like tongue-in-cheek references to pop culture events at the time, and there's a good number of people who argue that that is a problem with Fallout 2 because it detracts from the continuity purity, I guess you would say. And so there's like, it's really hard to wrap, this title is 100% in the continuity. It's definitely, again, the game's been out for 21 years, guys. So it's going to be a bit of a, this is kind of agreed to be canon, but then, who's developer at the time, they were kind of the determining factor of what gets, heaven forbid I use this word, retconned a little bit, because we're seeing that with Fallout 76 already. Fallout 76, just for the record, it's sounding like it is pseudo-canonical. Now, arguably, that's because of the massive multiplayer component. So there's a lot of open-ended events within 76 that, even more so than the original RPG single-player titles. But one of the things that they did change with 76 was, so far, is Super Mutants and the Brotherhood of Steel. Their storylines have taken a bit of a change to explain their presence. And again, we'll get into that when we come down to the chronological order of the titles, because 76 does a really odd jump backwards in the series, and that's kind of, it clarifies and also creates problems, as often prequels that are released afterwards do.
Mm-hmm.
But really quick, go for it.
sorry, just to interject on that, and like the problem is, unless you've got something where in the instance of like change of hands, if we want
Mhm.
to kind of call up that, uh, I will take Star Wars as the example here, because we didn't have anything that was like fully canonized until it was put in Disney's hands, and at this point now it was reviewed by several people in charge of story, etc. 3 times over through 3 different copies, signed and sealed in triplicate, to ensure that that is the full-blown canon, versus what the writers that have now changed hands about 20 times over have now needed to look back into their overall lore that they are adopting and trying to make something out of what they had previously brought up. Which goes actually back to what Blue was talking about a little bit ago anyway. Why I kind of joke how the first 2 are really the only ones that really matter. I enjoyed the tongue-in-cheek kind of aspects of what Fallout were, and I don't see a lot of that in many of the newer titles that have been released. I know New Vegas played with it a little bit, but it didn't really go to like the degree that the other ones did. That's just what I like kind of personally liked about it. But in the same, when you're making something that's just like so made off of like comedy like that, it does get kind of difficult. It, at least I would argue to say, it gets a little difficult to actually bring into the fold like what kind of story you're trying to create, or what kind of overall ideas you're trying to put together, I guess you could say, if that does make sense. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to interject that a little bit.
And the funny thing is, New Vegas is actually arguably that's exactly true, because going back to the topic of developers, that was Obsidian, which is a if I remember off the top of my head, I might be incorrect here, but I believe that is a successor to Black Isle.
It was,
or it was a component of Black Isle. It was like,
yeah.
So there's, but what I mean is like the reason why New Vegas is arguably kind of a callback to Fallout 2, and we'll get in. This is something we will get into, because the storyline of New Vegas is like it's kind of interesting to tie back into Fallout 2, but like that's one of the predominant reasons a lot of people say New Vegas is so different from Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, even though Bethesda was the publisher. It's because New Vegas was developed by Obsidian, not what is it? Bethesda, was it Game Studios, I think, or no? Game Studios was Shelter.
Yeah, I think it's just Bethesda proper.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly, but I think it was just Bethesda proper. But even then, we see that with other Bethesda products as well,
Elder
with
Scrolls.
like Doom and whatnot. Elder Scrolls as well. Doom is probably my favorite example of that, though, because we saw how things were with Doom 3, and then when we ended up getting the new Doom out of 2016, and now we're getting the newer one with Eternal. Like there's just is it Eternal? Yeah. There's just so many different ways that they've kind of allowed their developers to create their games, which I've appreciated as a publisher from them. But in the same, it's obvious the ones that, at least I would argue to say, it's obvious the ones that are trying to stick back to what the original product was kind of like. And then it's obvious what Bethesda was making to try to be like, look at us, we're edgy and cool, and we have our bugs that everybody just calls features. It's great.
Oh, yeah,
I know.
That's a tender subject with Fallout 76.
What's that? What's that tender subject with any Bethesda game ever?
What?
Right.
A bug that deletes the entire game, huh? God,
don't start the beta. It might delete the entire game.
It might wipe itself from your PC. Just a heads up. That was the highlight of. I work with a couple of people who are playing Fallout 76 and who are really big fans of Fallout, and that was, I remember when I came in that morning, they were like, so I'm like, I don't have a response for that. I don't think that qualifies as a bug. I think that's a full out error on programming standpoints. But
like Black Flag and Chet's, like it's Bug Out 76, not Fallout 76.
Oh my gosh.
But like I'm trying to figure out what's worse. Like on Steam, you'll get some of those developers that just don't even include the executable file.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
trying to figure out what's worse, where like
Yeah.
the executable file isn't given to you, or the game just deletes itself.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to figure out what the paradox is there,
man.
which is better. Like one that wastes your time, or one that doesn't have the executable file to even waste your time to begin with.
Well, and the other thing is, and this would be the kind of the ending of our rant on the, or I guess politics would be the best way to explain it. I don't really know the business side of it. Is that Bethesda of all the developers out there, you can see the development of Bethesda through the iterations of like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, and you brought up Doom. They have changed. Microsoft is doing the same thing now. You see Microsoft really hitting hard on indie titles right now, and they're bringing on like what was it? They brought on Hellblade. Is it Ninja Studios? God, who? Yeah. Why did I just blank on that?
Ninja Theory,
thank you. So like they're bringing in all these indie titles and they're giving them full reign, and that is something that historically Microsoft has not been very prominent about doing. Bethesda was the same. Mm-hmm. Like they bought all these titles. You can get into arguments from a business standpoint on like the morals of how they did that and all that, but it's watching how Bethesda has grown into Bethesda Game Studios, Bethesda Interactive. You have Softworks, I think, is now the mother company of Bethesda, I believe, and as in that development, you see them also kind of segregating out their different assets, giving, you have ZenWorks, you have Interactive, the game studios, different things going on, which is ultimately in the benefit of the players, because now we have a lot of different opportunities to play in different various mediums. I mean, you have Fallout Shelter, which I know people who just love the hell out of that game, and it is the silliest little mobile game out there. And
to be fair, that is the only Fallout game I've ever played.
Right? No, but I mean, but my point,
the resource development and managing everybody.
It's amazing.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Really, and that's Game Studios. Game Studios did that. That's them 100%. They did it with the assistance of Bethesda Interactive, but they released that at the same time that Fallout 4 came out. Like, I mean, so before I get grouped into the whole it's a business, blah, blah. It is a business, and this is the benefit of letting a business do its course, because as the business grows. I know AAA gets a lot of flack for a lot of different things, but one of the benefits of having a business like Bethesda or EA, whatever, all these big companies, one of the benefits is that we do get more different forms of the same titles. Now, there's going to be missteps, obviously. Yeah, Brotherhood of Steel Tactics, it's let's not do too much of those. But, that's a learning opportunity, and I think that's really, you see that again with Fallout over the past 2 decades. You see that that's kind of that's almost part of the canon of Fallout in and of itself, right? Is that there have been kind of missteps and mistakes made that have given the opportunity for the developers of the time to learn from. I mean, the developers who originally brought out Fallout don't even really exist anymore. And that's also kind of, breaking the fourth wall there. That's a hard truth about the entertainment industry in general that we also have to take into account.
One could say that somebody pushed the red button that said reset.
Reset. It's almost. Oh, anyways.
Also, nuke. Lots of nukes.
There was a 27. Anyways, let's get into this. The high level. So I kind of have a high level summary of Fallout. And really, the first thing that really sticks out for a lot of people is the aesthetics, right? Fallout is aesthetically a game that takes place in a future that's inspired by what people in about the 1950s thought it would be. So you have a lot of Art Deco themed vehicles. You have architecture that's following what's called Guggian ray gun Gothic design. You have computers that are designed on reel-to-reel technology, which was a thing for those who think that they kind of made that up. Nope, that was the view of things. And then you also have the armor, the power armor, which has become very, very important in Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. It was not a big component of the series for the protagonist in earlier iterations, really. So you have the armor that's reminiscent of Starship Troopers and Wasteland in their bulkiness. And again, remember we were talking about Fallout was a spiritual successor to the Wasteland RPG. So even the robots that are really prevalent throughout the series retain that feel of the 50s in the clunky models. You'll see that they're a lot larger in many ways than they need to be. There's not that sleek AI, iRobot type, feel to it. So throughout the series, there have been 5 full RPG titles. But along that comes a squad-based tactical RPG, which is Fallout Tactics: Brotherhood of Steel, an action RPG dungeon crawler, which was Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, and then a simulation game on mobile platforms, which we were just talking about, Fallout Shelter. Arguably, the canonical installments of the series are actually restricted to the RPG titles. However, there is still some back and forth that I had mentioned on how each of these titles is faithful to the original concept of the series. Primary divisions tend to see Fallout, Fallout 2, and to a small degree Fallout New Vegas as being along the same timeline, while Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 are in a way somewhat juxtaposed in events. Admittedly, this is, as we were just discussing, along the lines of developer differences in the titles. So basically, though, ultimately, the underlying theme of the post-World War II nuclear paranoia of the 1950s runs throughout all various titles. It's in every single title of the series and serves as, if nothing else, a connection to the various aspects of the central idea of the Fallout title and Fallout series. But I really want to stress here that you have to note that the game isn't the 1950s transposed into the future as much as it's just based on the vision of the future that was prevalent in the 50s. The reason it focuses in on the 50s is because that's the point of which is referred to as the Divergent event. And we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. But one prime example of this can be seen in the primary conflict being between the United States and China, instead of the more common conflict that's seen in like today's kind of presentation between the U.S. and the USSR. As far as why that is, actually Scott Campbell, he wrote a book about it called Origins of Fallout, No Mutants Allowed, which is a really interesting book. But he went on kind of record saying, quote, "The nuclear Armageddon in the backstory was between the U.S. and China. After shipping, several people asked me why China and not the old standby, the Soviet Union. I made the choice when I remembered experiences with Oleg, a Moscow developer I worked with months before when I was assistant producing a typing game. Once, in the middle of a phone conversation, I heard some muffled bangs and the phone went quiet. When I asked him what the noise was, he replied, 'Oh, it was just the Russian mob firing their guns in the street.' I thought he was joking. He wasn't. After that, I had a really hard time believing that the once mighty USSR would be in a position to threaten the world anytime soon. So I turned to the next major communist country that typifies, quote, the East, China." And that's the end of that quote. So there are, of course, a number of variances, but the above is one of the more overt throughout pretty much the entire series. Another can be seen in the modification of the domestic politics of the United States, which by the year of 2077 in the series has seen the 50 unique states that we know of today having unified into what's called 13 superstates, which are also called the Commonwealths in game. And we're going to talk about that also in a bit. And I have one more big quote here. This is a really well done overview, and I just basically stole this from Vaultpedia, and I'm going to link it in the show notes. Actually, I'm going to link a couple different fan wiki sites for Fallout. I really encourage you, if you are interested in this overall story or just the differences in the games, to go check out Vaultpedia and The Vault are two really well done sites. But Vaultpedia quote, or this is a quote from Vaultpedia, and states the following. Although events in the Fallout universe and the real world diverge around the mid-1940s, the defining moment of the Fallout universe was the Great War of 2077. Dwindling petroleum reserves led to a series of regional wars for resource control, and economies began to fold as nations were left without this vital lifeline. Alternate sources of energy were explored, leading to the maturation of nuclear fission technology, as well as various innovations in solar and hydroelectric power, and even nuclear fission, but none of these were sufficient to serve the global population's ever-growing needs. With the available reserves of crude oil in the world constantly diminishing, the Communist government of the People's Republic of China declared war on the United States, invading Alaska for the few remaining sources of oil there. The Sino-American War raged for 11 years, eventually culminating in a nuclear exchange between China and the United States. Both nations had built up huge stockpiles of nuclear weapons, and the mutual attack drew in enemies and allies from all around the world, igniting every hatred forged throughout the century-long Cold War. Although the conflict lasted only 2 hours, the destruction it brought was staggering and complete. More energy was released in the early moments of the exchange than in all previous global conflicts combined. This global nuclear conflict came to be known as the, quote, Great War, end quote. The world that remained was harsh and unforgiving. 90 years after the Great War, humanity struggles to survive. On the surface, bandits and organized gangs fought over the crumbling remains of once great cities, and mutants prowled the irradiated waste. Underground, a fortunate few enjoyed the relative safety and comfort of the vaults, designed before the war with the proclaimed purpose of protecting residents and their descendants from the nuclear annihilation. Some planned to keep the world out, others sought to connect with and repopulate the outside. Wherever humanity survived, it was under constant threat by ravenous mutants, rogue machines, vicious raiders, and all manner of hostile mutant creatures. Most of the events of the series took place in the United States. The first 2 games, Fallout and Fallout 2, were set in New California, the remains of the West Coast, in which the Master and the Enclave were the region's main threats. The third game, Fallout Tactics, took place in the Midwest, between the city of Chicago and Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado. The fourth game, Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, took place in northern Texas, in the town of Carbon and the Ghoul city of Los. The fifth game, Fallout 3, was set on the east coast of the United States in an area called the Capital Wasteland. This included the remains of Washington, D.C., parts of Virginia, Pittsburgh, and Maryland. The sixth game, Fallout New Vegas, took place in the Mojave Wasteland, which included parts of California, Utah, Arizona, and Nevada. Fallout 4 is set in Boston, Massachusetts metro area and includes notable landmarks in the city of Boston and the city of Cambridge as part of the Commonwealth. So, end quote there. So basically, to wrap up, I wanted to touch on the culture of the Fallout universe, and basically, in essence, this culture is what is envisioned in the 50s, known to us as what's called modern Americana. So although the subculture movements like hippie beatniks and punks were around, the movements never materialized as mainstream in the Fallout universe. In general, Fallout has a culture that is far more like egalitarian than the source material would imply, and it reflects modern sentiments and tendencies. So you'll see, and this is prevalent in the genders, women fight alongside men, occupy positions of influence, and even serve in armies on equal terms for the most part. There are a couple factions that I will mention later that is not the case, but the majority of them, that's exactly the case. Racism is conspicuously absent in all games, and this is replaced by a hatred towards mutants. So that's either mutated humans, ghouls, or the ever common hatred is super mutants. So again, that's kind of a very brief overview of Fallout. Beard Green, are there any questions that stand out before we dive into kind of a timeline piece?
Not that I can really think of. I mean, the whole idea with Fallout to begin with is, like I had said before, like somebody went and hit the reset button that said nuke.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Just in general, anything that you were thinking of from the 1950s is now warped in some direction, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, well, it's like, still 100 some years later or something. But
yeah.
No, I think the timeline's the perfect way to kind of really start the actual big discussions that I think we're going to have.
I agree.
Because right now, everything I can think of is pretty well related to that.
Mhm.
The overview is
Well,
obviously important to know, though.
right. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of discussion is going to be about the point of divergence in post-war.
Right.
Because, I mean, really, up until the point of divergence, the history of Fallout is the same as reality. You have the Great War, which is not the Great War of 2077, but World War I and World War II occur. That's where you get that kind of mutually assured destruction, nuclear war paranoia that was very prevalent in the 50s. And that's like the Cold War, all this stuff. This was very, very accurate to what was actually happening in reality.
Right.
The point of divergence is estimated to be sometime within the late 1940s, early mid 1950s, and really the point is that is where in the series they kind of say we go this way instead of the way that reality went with the Cold War and everything of that nature. The Fallout series went a different way, and really, as far as Fallout's concerned, it actually stays somewhat parallel to our world there up until I think it was like the 90s or even the 2000s, and that's where they hit the issue with resources. And that's where you start seeing a massive kind of Cold War between really China, the People's Republic of China, and the United States. And it's just, I mean, it's a brutal thing. There's massive conflicts between both of them, but it's always within the realm of Cold War. It's never actually escalated until I think it's 2066, which is the invasion of Alaska by the People's Republic of China. And that kind of kickstarts this huge thing called the Sino-American War. And really the reason why that happened was, again, like I kind of mentioned in the overview, like humanity has been exploring all these alternative different means of energy, the electric stuff, nuclear fission. I mean, they had made nuclear fission a reality, which is huge. Nuclear power in general was becoming more prominent, but even so, all that, there was nothing to really replace the reliance on crude oil, and crude oil was drying up literally. And so what happened was in the winter of 2066, China basically literally invaded Alaska because it was one of the last major locations that had a repository of crude oil. Well, of course, that was an act of actual war, and so United States kind of responded. And at that point, also, you have to understand that politically or domestically within the U.S., and I mentioned this a little bit, they had kind of, they didn't secede, but they kind of unified all the different states into these commonwealths to assist with like different political agendas and stuff like that. You'll see this especially in the history, if you want to delve into the history of factions such as the Enclave. The Enclave is actually a remnant of they basically refer to themselves as the shadow government that ran the United States prior to the Great War of 2077. They're actually referred to as the survivors of the cabal that used to run that. And the Enclave really was part of the inspiration for Vault-Tec. Like, Vault-Tec itself is not a good company. We'll get into that probably a little bit later as well, because there's a whole different look at what the entire point of the vaults were. And they were not as altruistic as they kind of were presented. It was, a huge surprise there. But the Sino-American War ended on October 23rd, 2077, and this is the event that's called the Great War of 2077, and this is the global thermonuclear event that took place, lasted for 2 hours, and set mankind back hundreds of years in technological, social, and cultural development, as well as destroying all involved nations. It created global disruption of climate and a casualty count that is roughly in the billions. And again,
one might say it caused the collapse.
Yeah, I mean, and again, kind of going into that, that's actually the paranoia again that the 50s were having. You had theories such as mutually assured destruction, which is exactly what this was, and for those who might not be 100% cognizant on what MAD is basically a political theory in which, if a first world country goes to war with another first world country, basically, and it escalates to a point where they actually are going to use thermonuclear devices. The fear is that because of there are the various political ties and alliances throughout all these countries, it will escalate to a point where there is no way to stop a global collapse and a destruction of this, because everyone will then be resulting in attacking another person to defend or to preemptively defend themselves against that person. And when everyone in the world has a nuclear component, nuclear weapons, that is a very big problem. And so the event again here, and I mentioned it up there in the summary, is literally all of the energy that was released is pretty much all the global conflicts combined could not come close to the amount of energy that was released in the first part of 2 hours, which is just insane to think about. In 2 hours, we destroyed everything culturally, and I mean, we pretty much, the fact that the planet didn't crack is a marvel.
I mean, quite frankly, there's a reason that we either have one nuclear deterrence today, or two also needed nuclear disarmament. Mm-hmm. Like the reason that we had to have so many acts and so on put into place was to limit how many nuclear warheads it would each country would have. I think they've said though it would only take like maybe about 50 blasts in the right areas that we'd be done. Like if they went off in the same spot, it wouldn't take much. Like that's why disarmament was so important. Even
it would take a
80s,
lot.
90s.
Yeah, it would take a lot, but that's how much power is stored within a thermonuclear device. I think would be a better. I mean, to kind of to clarify that statement, like that's as well. Oh my god, like that's the amount of power that's stored in those devices.
I mean, it's kind of ridiculous how little it would take. That even though we have all these rules on it, it's still going to take everybody out.
Well, and even if that's not the case, like what they're describing here, of course, is like the nuclear blasts destroyed everything. What a good majority of scientists will claim today, at least by some degree, with said 50 blasts, is that that's also nuclear winter, as well as also trade winds and so on, causing nuclear disruptions throughout most of the rest of the land.
Yeah.
So just long story short, like it would not take much to abolish any and all life on Earth just based on those.
Oh yeah. So on that note, really as a side note, actually, I don't know if any of you guys, I know you guys are active on Twitter, but any of our listeners who might be active on Twitter, I really encourage, there's an account called Seeker, and they have these like really cool little like 2-minute clips of like different things that then will lead into different conversations. They just recently had one where they're talking about the revision of the meteor strike theory about the dinosaurs. And they actually explain exactly what Beard's talking about as far as like how scientifically one meteor was able to do theoretically what it was doing. And he's exactly right. The trade winds were a huge component of that because the impact itself was immense. But what happens as a result of those impacts is the way that the disruption of the climate and the creation of disruption of the global glasshouse effect, that the disbursement of all these particles into the air really create. And that is also the name source of fallout. when you talk about the Fallout series, kind of bring that back into the game. When you talk about Fallout, that's the nuclear Fallout. This is the explanation of why you have what's really the primary setting for the video games is the wasteland. The wasteland is exactly what Beard is explaining here. It's the thermonuclear winter that is a result of this massive release of radioactive destruction that happened. That's why, especially in Fallout 4, which is the only reason I bring this up is because it's very fresh, because I actually tried to play Fallout 4 and be full disclosure, I couldn't get past the hey, let's play SimCity component. Love the story of Fallout 4. Can't stand the mechanics, which just whatever. But part of Fallout 4, more so than even in earlier iterations of the game that I remember, it's very big on the radioactive. Like Fallout 3, you kind of started to see this, but Fallout 4 really kind of doubled down on it. Based on where you're walking, there are radioactive spikes, and you have a built-in Geiger counter basically within your Pip-Boy, which has always kind of been there. But Fallout 4, you actually get like severe like burns and stuff like that, whereas in 3 you kind of got damage. 4, you actually can see your character change, and that's kind of the technology evolution there as well. 76, you see a lot of creatures called the Scorched and Scorched Beasts. That is a result of the radioactive mutations, because Fallout 76 takes place in 2102, which is roughly 25 years after the Great War.
Which doesn't make sense.
Well, it does when you realize what the purpose of Vault 76 was.
Yeah, I know.
Vault 76, this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but the vaults are basically used as various means to test different theories about social events. And Vault 76 was, long story short, Vault 76 was the canary of the vaults. They released the Vault 76 on quote-unquote Reclamation Day, which is 2102, which is 25 years, like I said, 25 years after the Great War of 2077. And basically, they released them with the intent of seeing, hey, can you survive yet? Vault Tech has right now in the series, we know of, a ton of different vaults throughout various different things. Of all the vaults that we know about, really only 4 of them are what's called control vaults, which are basically vaults that are not got something screwy going on. And of those, like, one of them is legitimately the Enclave's, or the Unity, sorry, that was the Master, sorry, Los Angeles Vault was the one I was thinking of. What was the control? There was one that was specific, hang on. There's, like I said, so basically, I spoke incorrectly. 76 was a control vault that was intended to open and recolonize the surface after 20 years. Basically, it was designed to do that because of the idea that theoretically it should be clear. They basically miscalculated. Surprise. But despite being designed to open 20 years after the war, it actually opened 25 years. So there was a mishap mentioned there. There were other vaults that were designed to test the effects of radiation. Some of the funniest, there's some funny ones too, which is kind of weird, like Vault 77. Which was Vault 77 was literally populated by one man and a crate of puppies, which is the best way to, I just love some of the combinations, and I'll try to, I'll try to put these in the notes somewhere, because there's quite a few interesting ones. Each vault basically can hold 1,000 people. And you had different situations, like you had Vault 68 and 69. Of the 1,000 people that entered, there was only one man or one woman. So, there's like different things going on there. You have different vaults where certain events happened. They weren't necessarily comprised of tests, but like there was one vault where all the jumpsuits extruders were they all failed after 6 months. And so like how do you handle that? A lot of these are mentioned in what's called a Fallout Bible, which is as most major titles will have Bibles of some sort, and it's basically to help assist with keeping with the continuity of the different titles and different installments and the handoffs between development teams. And real quick, this is actually, speaking of the Fallout Bible, I'm going to quote the explanation of vaults as social experiments. And this is, I believe this was from, oh gosh, I don't remember. I don't know if this was from Scott Campbell or if it was from someone else. But it says, quote, first off, thematically, so this was basically in response to an AMA on Reddit where they kind of were like, why did Vault Tech do all these creepy things in the vaults? And they say, quote, first off, thematically, it's pretty creepy. And we all know that developers will pull all sorts of crazy shit to try and mess with players' heads. It's possible that Tim had just finished watching an X-Files episode and had conspiracy theories swimming around in his subconscious. As to your comment about the experiments being a bit over the top, well, yeah, we're guilty as charged. Secondly, as proven time and again in Fallout 2, the Enclave isn't a particularly rational bunch of fellows. Thematically, they embrace a paranoid view of the world and a heightened sense of superiority over everyone else in Fallout. Third, the federal government, or whatever branch of federal government was responsible, it was not necessarily the Enclave, may not have ever considered the vaults as society's best chance for survival. The government may have considered themselves the best candidates for rebuilding the world and already had their asses covered in events of a nuclear or biological war by relocating to other remote installations across the nation and elsewhere that weren't necessarily vaults. The Enclave certainly didn't seem to be devoting much effort to digging up any other vaults and trying to use the human stock there to rebuild civilization. Fourth, a lot of people did die because the vaults didn't work. Some suffered worse fates. Nonetheless, even members of the Enclave probably could not answer the question of who created the vault experiments and their reasons, as many of the people responsible for the creation of the vaults died long ago, and many records were lost in the Great Static of 2077. President Richardson was familiar with the purpose of the vaults, but he never saw them as more than the little test tubes of preserved humans he could mess with. End quote. So yeah, it's basically like the majority of vaults built by Vault Tech were actually designed to be experimental vaults. There were not a lot of control vaults within them. Now, again, going back into the timeline a little bit, obviously these vaults were built prior to the Great War. And so this taps back into that nuclear paranoia that was very prevalent within the 1950s. This is when you see in our timeline, this is when you see nuclear war, tests with, or not tests, but like, oh God, what is it? The siren system. Everyone get under your desk. Like, there's these things that they would do, like legitimately would happen in society. And it's like, why would you do that? It's, these are actual things that happen. And so that was kind of a tap back into the reality from the Fallout series. And this was also kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of making fun of that as well. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. Had to take a drink of water. Yeah. So, long story short, there, I kind of want to jump through the order of titles from a chronological standpoint. As I said at the kind of the top of the show here, I'm gonna stick to the 5 RPG titles because those are predominantly the most canonical of the titles. Mm-hmm. The exception to that is 76, which it was just released. So first off, we don't really know how faithful to the canon 76 is gonna be. I kind of view it. I view it the same as Elder Scrolls Online. It's an MMO, so arguably like big events that might be canon. Small events within the title, probably not. It's just not going to. It's kind of a pseudo-canonical event within it. And like I said, it was released this year. So we will see. We know that there are, excuse me, we know that there have been some minor continuity corrections that has been made. The one predominant one so far is the Brotherhood of Steel.
Right.
They were brought. So the Brotherhood of Steel arguably wasn't in existence at the time that Fallout 76 is occurring, which is 2102. But in the game, they are there. They have their power armor and they're walking around. So it has been kind of confirmed in Fallout 76 that the Brotherhood is around, as well as super mutants, which kind of causes a small hiccup in the story of the forced evolutionary virus, which we'll talk about actually right now, because that is the predominant figure or predominant antagonistical tool in the original game, Fallout. So Fallout was released in 97. It was the first title that was released. We had mentioned this. The developer was Interplay Entertainment or Black Isle Studios. It takes place in the year 2161. So it's actually roughly
59 years in the future from
the
76.
Yeah. And so the story begins in Vault 13. This vault is located in Southern California, where the water chip, that stupid water chip, which is a recurring theme. The water chip, it kind of breaks. And this water chip, the reason this is a big deal is this is the one thing that is responsible for water recycling and other pumping machinery. So basically, they're dead without this thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we find the protagonist. And basically this particular protagonist is known throughout the canon and the game series as, quote, the Vault Dweller. And the Vault Dweller is tasked by the Overseer, who is basically the lead scientist, leader of each vault. Every vault has a Overseer. And this particular vault, Vault 13's Overseer, gives the Vault Dweller a device called a Pip-Boy 2000, and the point of this device is to assist in keeping track of their progress and some meager equipment, and then basically kicks them out of the vault and says, hey, go get this water chip if you want everyone to survive. Initially, the game actually was shipped with a time limit coded into the main mission, the time limit of the main mission is still present, the secondary time limit. So the main mission actually has a time limit coded into it of 150 days. And that is basically there to say that's when the water supply is going to run out for Vault 13. You can, through different interactions with NPCs in the game, actually increase that time limit to 250 days. So you can increase it by 100 days if you find the certain group of merchants and actually commission assistance. But basically, you have 150 to 250 days to complete the first part of the game. And so this is the location of a water chip and basically just taking it back. So you locate the water chip, you return to Vault 13, and the Vault Dweller at that point learns of a mutant army. This is where you get introduced to the figure of the Master. And this is the part where originally it was actually shipped with a time limit coded into this mission of 500 days. But later in one of the earlier updates to the game, in version 1.1, they actually removed this. And the reason for this particular one was because they wanted to promote the idea of an open world. So they said, we're going to take the 500 days off. So what happens is the Vault Dweller learns about the Master, and the Master has this thing called, which is referred to throughout the series as FEV, which is Forced Evolutionary Virus. And FEV in the Master's hands is basically being utilized to convert humanity into super mutants, which he then is collecting to create his own version of a perfect world. This faction is called the Unity, and it's super creepy. So the Vault Dweller is tasked with basically the job of killing the Master, as well as destroying the primary depot of FEV, which is called Mariposa Military Base. And so this is the mission that originally, like I said, had 500 days, because at the end of that 500 days, the mutant army would discover Vault 13 and invade it. which would destroy and end the game. So basically, when they took that out, you can still technically lead the mutants back to the vault, and you can still, I think, get that cutscene to occur, but it's not based off of time in game. But the player can defeat the Master and destroy the Super Mutants' military base in either order. So you have two main points there. And then when both threats are eliminated, you're put into a cutscene in which you return to Vault 13 and are basically told, "Hey, great job, you're amazing. Now leave." And the reason for this is that if they come back, everyone would want to leave the vault. And so for the good of the vault, they're rewarded with exile into the desert. And this is all because the Overseer kind of is looking at it as the means justify the ends. Regardless, what happens is after they've been exiled, so this is also the big thing with Fallout is Fallout was a big component of ethical choices. And these choices actually change what happened in game. And this was the case even as far back as Fallout. So this is actually one of the big iterations of that. If you had played a character that aligned with the good moral component, they just walked away. If you played a character who is more of an evil component or evil alignment, they would actually kill the Overseer and then walk away. Either way, you actually leave Vault 13. The Vault Dweller will eventually go on to found a village called Aereo, which brings us to actually the starting point of Fallout 2, as well as basically the direct connection between the two titles, as well as the two protagonists. So Fallout 2, to kind of jump directly into that, was released the next year, 98. And this was developed exclusively by Black Isle Studios, and it takes place in the year 2241. So this is, let me do my math real quick, about 190 to 100 years after Fallout. So basically, following the events of Fallout, the Vault Dweller went north. So from Vault 13, they took a group of companions and went north. Eventually, they began to gather a community together in an area within Oregon and named the village Aereo. After writing memoirs, the Vault Dweller vanishes. Basically, it's just the stereotypical rides off into the sunset and leaves behind Aereo in the hands of their companions and their descendants. So basically, in the decades since the Vault Dweller's exile, you also see the rise of a new government, and this is the government of the New California Republic, which is referred to as NCR throughout most of the series. The NCR has begun to unify the southern towns and is basically spreading north. So this is becoming a point of interest for the inhabitants of Aereo. But you also have a mysterious new organization known as the Enclave, which kind of shows up. And the reason why the Enclave is a big threat here is that the Enclave has some of the most, if not the most sophisticated technology in the Wasteland. And this is technology that even surpasses the much more prominent Brotherhood of Steel. Also, Fallout 2 introduces Jet, which is a drug that kind of is super addictive and also ties everyone back to the town of New Reno because of the addictive properties. So this is kind of the world in which the Chosen One, which is the protagonist here, is introduced, or you are introduced to as the Chosen One. The Chosen One is a direct descendant of the Vault Dweller, and you are brought before the Elders of Aereo and given the task of retrieving a Garden of Eden creation kit, which is known as GEC, which is one of the coolest little acronyms ever, for their village, which, hey, guess what, is suffering the worst drought in living memory. So going back to, you need a water chip. The GEC is a powerful piece of technology that is basically able to create thriving communities out of the wasteland that is the result of the apocalyptic Great War. So what this device does is literally it creates a pocket of Eden, which is where the name comes from. The idea here is that by getting a GEC, it will allow Aereo to survive. So the Chosen One, basically through reviewing the memoirs of their ancestor and through just travel, they actually locate Vault 13. And the entire reason that they locate Vault 13 is that every vault has a Gek located within it. So they find Vault 13, they are hoping to acquire the Gek that's within the vault, only to find that, hey, the vault has been opened and pretty much everyone inside of it is gone. No clue where they gone, they just vanished. So the Chosen One returns to Aereo with the Gek to kind of being like, I don't know what's going on, but they're all gone. And it's discovered that the village has become captured by the Enclave. And this is also where you kind of start learning a bit more about the Enclave, and you find out that they are actually remnants of the U.S. government and the shadow government that ran it. Also, hey, guess what? Most of them have been kidnapped. So it's a very familiar kind of, this is where you start getting a connection between Vault 13 and Aereo as well. Both of them have been kidnapped by the Enclave. This leads to the Chosen One recovering and reactivating an ancient oil tanker, and which will allow them to get to the Enclave's main base, which is located in an offshore oil rig. It is here that they discover that the inhabitants of Vault 13 and those missing from Aereo have been captured to serve as test subjects for the Enclave's experiments with a modified variant of FEV. And this modification basically is they changed it into an airborne disease that targets any living creature with mutated DNA. And the reason why they did this is the Enclave plans to purify the world and take control once again. And that's all great and good until Chosen One blows up their base. So they kind of put an end to that plan, which is why actually the Enclave had kidnapped the inhabitants of Vault 13. They were using them as control subjects because, as we kind of mentioned, the vaults are sealed, so there's no mutation theoretically happening within them. So basically, following the freeing of the prisoners, the Chosen Ones lead the group back into the Wasteland, where, with the Gek that they got from Vault 13, they create a new community. Now, this is where we have a changing of hands of the title, because in Fallout 3, which was published, or which was released in 2008, so 10 years after Fallout 2, Bethesda is now in control of this title. And this is also arguably where Fallout 3 kind of takes a jump into a different story. Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 have followed the Vault Dweller and their descendants. Fallout 3 is taking place within the Capital Wasteland, which is the wasteland of Washington, D.C. And this game follows the story of the Lone Wanderer. So this is in 2271, which is 200 years after the Great War. The Lone Wanderer, who is a young inhabitant of Vault 101, is basically following their father's footsteps. And the reason why is basically in the beginning, their father is responsible for opening the vault and running into the wasteland. No answers why. The Lone Wanderer doesn't know what's going on. And so in order to kind of figure out what is going on, and to escape the Overseer, who's kind of blaming everything on their father, they go into the Capital Wasteland to search for answers. While searching for these answers, the Wanderer becomes involved in basically a number of different things, which includes the power grab between the Enclave and the Brotherhood of Steel. And basically their reason for being involved in that is that there is apparently history between the Brotherhood and their father, which coerces them into joining the Brotherhood against the Enclaves, and they are responsible really for kind of breaking the Enclave a bit here, because the Brotherhood at this point in the story is a shadow of itself. Ultimately, this ends with the Lone Wanderer going head-to-head with the Enclave's new leader, President John Henry Eden, and his second-in-command, Colonel Augustus Autumn, which is also where you start finding even more secrets about the Enclave, which is involved with the realization that the Enclave is not 100% human to begin with. So the idea of the pure human race by the Enclave is a bit hypocritical on that one, especially
distorted.
Oh my God, Eden is like the most annoying person to deal with. Fallout 3 also arguably has one of, if not the worst infights of the vanilla game, and it's just painful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in Fallout 3 was also when they really pushed it onto the consoles. So you have this being released on Xbox 360 and I believe the PlayStation 3, I want to say.
Yes.
And so you also had Fallout 3 being shipped with DLCs. So you had a number of DLCs for Fallout 3, all of which I like I said, I really enjoyed the mechanics of Fallout 3. So it was one of the few games that I enjoyed the mechanics so much that I kind of overlooked slightly weaker storytelling, because the vanilla story of Fallout 3 was not super strong. But the mechanics made up for it in my mind. Flip that on its head, Fallout New Vegas, which was released in 2010 by Obsidian Entertainment. It takes place in 2274, and this is actually a title that I liked the story, couldn't stand the mechanics, which is weird because the mechanics were arguably the same as Fallout 3. Difference here is that Obsidian Entertainment is not Bethesda Game Studios, and so this is also where you kind of have a bit of friction going on behind the scenes. And it also explains why Fallout New Vegas is more reminiscent of Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 instead of Fallout 3. Fallout New Vegas, again, takes place about 3 years after Fallout 3, and it's located in and around the area of Las Vegas, which is known as New Vegas. And this is basically an introduction to this area, and you learn that the city wasn't hit as hard as most of the other districts because it's in the middle of a freaking desert. And so New Vegas is mostly still intact, and it actually has electricity and running water because they have this really cool thing called the Hoover Dam right next to them, which introduces also an increased political environment within the game because it encourages whoever controls Hoover Dam basically controls New Vegas. So yeah, while it does take place after the events of Fallout 3, it's actually argued that it's more related to the events from Fallout and Fallout 2 due to the area of the gameplay. So you have the NCR as a major component of the story. You are introduced to another faction called Caesar's Legions, which has a very interesting backstory. I'm going to try to get to the factions here in a bit. Caesar's Legion, and then Mr. House. Oh, Mr. House, who is basically the overseer of the New Vegas Strip and really kind of a baron in his own right of the entire area. You are the courier, is the protagonist in New Vegas, and you basically get introduced in the middle of a mission in which I would not be surprised if this was a freaking water chip. You're introduced in the middle of a mission to deliver a package from Prim to New Vegas. You get intercepted and basically are left for dead in a shallow grave. You're discovered by a robot and are taken to a nearby settlement where you're able to be brought pretty much back from the brink of death, and you go on to become a major figure in the overall kind of story of New Vegas. New Vegas also has one of the most random number of different endings based on the number of decisions that you make throughout the title, which is kind of actually a good point here. This is also arguably why you see a large jump between the timelines in the different titles. You see this a lot with Elder Scrolls as well. Bethesda does this quite a bit because it allows the players to make decisions that affect the outcome of the game, but then also allow their later titles to continue continuity, because the events within a game are able to be personal, but the overall events are still predetermined by the game creators. New Vegas is a really good example of this because basically the end of the vanilla title is the second battle at Hoover Dam, where you basically determine who ends up with control over Hoover Dam. There's, I believe, 20 odd definitive endings available within the title, and the end result is either control of New Vegas can be belonging to either the NCR, Caesar's Legion, Mr. House, Brotherhood of Steel, who show up at the 11th hour, or an independent Vegas. All of these are also then flavored by the moral compass of the individual character. And different achievements are unlocked as well. So there's a huge component of different endings within the New Vegas title. Which brings us to Fallout 4, which chronologically is the latest title so far. Fallout 4 was released in 2015. It's back in the hands of Bethesda Game Studios. It takes place in the year 2287, and the main protagonist is a character known as the Sole Survivor. And so the Sole Survivor is introduced when they are forced to flee the safety of Vault 111 on the day of they are forced to flee to Vault 111 on the day of the Great War. So it actually gives you a glimpse of the events of October 23rd. It's also the only title to split the time played. So you play not only before the Great War, but also after. Which was I love the beginning of Fallout 4. I think it's a great beginning.
Yeah, that was like the only thing that really intrigued me was to like
loved that.
do the opening sequence.
The opening sequence, and like up until basically you're told, hey, you have to run this city or this town. I was like, I'm done.
I don't think I want to do Farmville.
It's a first person Farmville. It's oh yeah. So if you have a Xbox Game Pass, I think Fallout 4 is actually free to play. And I really would, if nothing else, I would really actually encourage people to go watch the opening sequence to Fallout 4. It's really well done. But that's the introduction to Fallout 4. You actually are in the process of running to Vault 111. And then when you get into Vault 111, you're put into cryogenic stasis. During the time that the subjects in the vault are in stasis, there is actually a revolt. The security force rises up against the science staff, and basically all of the people who are not in stasis are killed or exiled. Which translates into there is no one left to take care of the people in stasis, and so they just basically all slowly die off until the Sole Survivor is woken, and basically you wake up in time to see the murder of their spouse, because also in Fallout 4 you can, or in Fallout you can play either gender, so that is taken into account here. You see the murder of their spouse, and then also you witness the kidnapping of their child. Sean is the child. After witnessing the events, the survivor is able to escape the vault, only to discover that it is actually 200 years since they went into the vault, and their home is, long since obviously fallen into disarray. But the fact is they're still missing their child. So the more urgent matter of their child's well-being pushes the survivor to venture into the nearby Diamond City, which introduces you into the politics of that area's Commonwealth. This is taking place in the Boston, Massachusetts area, and also gives an excuse to introduce the various factions of that area, such as the Commonwealth Minutemen, the Railroad, the Brotherhood of Steel, and also the new kind of faction really here is the Institute. Now, the Institute was mentioned in Fallout 3, but it becomes a major component within Fallout 4. And so basically upon finding, and then this leads you into needing to find a way into the Institute. So you basically work your way into the Institute, and you come to find your son is in the figure of the father, who is the current director of the Institute. And it's it was a nice little twist there too, because basically what you find out is, oh, hey, you're not 10 years old, you're over 60 and you're dying of cancer. Well, what happened is that it's revealed that while they did indeed witness the kidnapping of their child, they had been returned into cryostasis for another 50 years before Sean actually reactivated them, with the idea to bring them into alliance with the Institute, since Sean was not able to create viable descendants, I think would be the best way to say that. And so his entire plan is to basically have his parents take over control of the Institute. Again, as is common with Fallout games, your decisions determine how this all works. You can either continue the Institute's work, you can choose to basically shut the Institute down. There's also the moral components within the decisions as well. And then there's also the fact that you are running various villages throughout the area as well throughout the gameplay. And that's really the titles. I know that was a very, very quick run through. Green Beard, questions, go.
Questions. Questions revolve mainly because I only played the mobile game. The importance of the different classes within Fallout is not as heavily emphasized in most of the games, correct? Like I think I played like a hot minute of Fallout 4.
Yeah, so the way you're 100% correct. You are not bound by a particular class. So like when you create your character, it's all about like character creation for Fallout is all about like the crazy aesthetics, right? That's your creation. Now you do have it's called special, a slotment or an allotment of different quote unquote skill points, but ultimately you can customize that through gameplay as well. And Fallout 4 really doubled down on this. Actually, I'm actually not I didn't spend a lot of time with it, but from my first glance at the Fallout 4 skill tree development, I was not a fan of it. I actually really liked Fallout 3's development of it. But basically what you have is a assortment of different genres, I guess, of skill sets. You have like things like, sneak, you have strength, you have diplomacy, like different things. And this is this is often very common in Bethesda titles in general. You see the similar things in Elder Scrolls, right?
Right. And that's the reason why I tried Fallout, is because I enjoyed Elder Scrolls so much.
Right.
It felt so very different in the way that it was implemented. It
is extremely different in not only implementation, but obviously theme as well. Again, I'm not going to lie, I really prefer Fallout 3. I love Fallout 3's mechanics. Fallout 4 and New Vegas, I'm not as big of a fan for because of mechanics. It's similar to my obsession with Oblivion as over the other titles. I really like the mechanics of Oblivion. I'm not so much. I've grown to be okay with Skyrim's mechanics. I don't like Morrowind. I just have a preference of different mechanics.
Right.
But the big thing with Fallout is like, as far as character creation purposes, you can completely determine how your character evolves over time. So if you choose to make a super strong character who's not super smart in the beginning, or a super smart character who's not super strong in the beginning, however you want to do that, you can write that decision, I guess, if that makes sense. Like you can rebalance it through gameplay to a degree. Now there are various loadouts that will provide you, if you're trying to like power play through.
Right.
You have specific skills that you want to focus on first, because they'll give you like science and lockpick are like the biggest things for my play style, because science determines your ability to hack computers, and lockpick is your ability to open safes to get to gear that you're not supposed to have yet.
Right.
And so it helps you get equipment and knowledge faster. Knowledge will then translate into skill points, which then you can kind of turn, like there's different ways to achieve different goals within the title that is completely up to the individual player. And that's what I love about Fallout, is like you can play the same game and have two different completely experiences. But yeah, to kind of go back, there's not a healer class, or there's no classes. It really is. It's really kind of
versus.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, they do a really good job of being like, hey, here's the wasteland, throw you into it, and it's sink or swim based on your reactions. And you see that especially within the later installments, because Bethesda also really does a good job of introducing the components of moral choices within the game. And Fallout 4 actually has a really good karma system, I guess is the best way to kind of refer to it. Fallout 3's was kind of clunky. Fallout 4 does a really good job. You see this in Bethesda's other titles. This is a very common component within the Elder Scrolls series. And it's emphasized more in Fallout, because a lot of Fallout is about diplomatic relations between these factions. So factions aren't like clans. They're not just political NPCs. Factions are living, breathing entities within the game that change based off your reactions and your decisions. The Institute is a really good example. The Institute in Fallout 4, you actually can determine how the Institute responds to you becoming the director, if you become the director, based on your actions in the earlier iterations of your encounters with the Institute. Because if you basically kill the Institute researchers in the field, you find that it's more difficult to allow the Institute to assist you once you end the campaign missions that are aligned with becoming the director. Or if you choose to not become the director, the Institute is responsible for synths, which are basically synthetic humans. And so one of the benefits of finishing Fallout 4's main story and becoming the director is you increase the number of synths in the environment. So you'll have like assistants running around the wasteland who will actually drop everything and come help you, because you're their director, you're their father. And so you have a lot more NPC assistance. If you don't become the director, obviously the synths are not there. This is often also seen. The Railroad is in Fallout 4. The Railroad is basically, it's not even a faction, it's actually a movement. And they're dedicated to freeing sentient synths from the Institute. So you kind of have a component there as well. Do you free the synths? Do you not free the synths? There's a lot of actually really, really, really cool moral dilemmas within the Fallout series. Fallout 3 is the Megaton, the entire thing. Do you blow up Megaton, or do you let it stay? Because Megaton is the major city in Fallout 3. It's built around the remains of a megaton bomb. It's the atomic bomb. And it's where they kind of like there's this crater that it fell in, it never exploded, and for a variety of different reasons, they've built a community around this thing. Well, you actually have an option in Fallout 3 to set off the bomb. That's actually a mission that you've been given by a NPC that you meet later in the campaign, who basically says, "Hey, I've been basically hired to destroy Megaton. Do you?" And then you're given the choice: do you activate the bomb and kill everyone, or do you not activate the bomb and piss off this really powerful NPC? There's these different karma points that are going back and forth always. Every decision you make in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 will influence your karma standing. And it's, again, it's present in the other titles, but it's Bethesda doubled down on it with Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. New Vegas obviously has it as well, because Bethesda was heavily involved there too.
I'm trying to think of it, and I can't think of the franchise. I played all 3 of the games. It was a karma-based game similar to this, but it was not post-apocalyptic. It was more fantasy. I was trying to figure out if this karma system is similar to that, where based on your actions, you're going to have this outcome in the game at the end versus not.
Yeah, so the karma system in Fallout is very similar to the alignment system in D&D.
Okay.
To kind of oversimplify it. You have like an axis of good and evil, and then you have an axis of pacifist and violent. And basically you fall within somewhere on this quadrant, and given where you fall, that then determines with again, kind of going back to Fallout 3, because I'm intimately familiar with Fallout 3. Given your location within that quadrant, that determines average NPC's response to you at the time that they're first introduced to you. And then based off that, you can then use diplomacy or, threats. You can different, like there's different perks that will then allow you to either win the well-wishing of that in particular NPC. Fallout has one of the funniest perks is Lady Killer or Black Widow.
Okay.
And basically what this does is this perk allows you as a player, if you're a male character, you get Lady Killer. If you're a female character, I think I want to say it's like I want to say it's Black Widow. But basically what it is, because you can also have you can somewhat have relationships within and NPCs will have relationships with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so based off the relationship status of the NPC when you encounter them, if you have this particular perk, you get like a massive boost if they're single. If they're not in a relationship with another NPC, you get a massive boost to your ability to influence them to do certain things if they're the opposite sex or the opposite gender of your character. So if you're a male character and you have a Lady Killer and you encounter a single female NPC, you get like, it's like it's like plus 50, like it's a huge boost. And that's really kind of like because you build these specific skill sets, and you can purchase these through in-game in-game development. Again, very similar to Elder Scrolls, like your skill trees in Elder Scrolls, like Skyrim. Skyrim's the one that comes to mind, where you're building the constellation of different skill sets. You have a very similar concept within Fallout. You have components that as you get more skill points to invest in certain particular strengths, you can get different benefits. Like one of them's lead stomach, I think is one of the ones, which allows you to drink water without filtering it first. And you can ignore the radioactive damage that normally would be incurred by that. In Fallout 3, you can become a ghoul, which is really interesting. You basically can glean nutritional value from eating or from cannibalism. So that's actually, again, going back to this is very Mad Max. And if you guys, if you're familiar with the Mad Max kind of story there, that's in line with what's going on. This is a post-apocalyptic. That's very gritty in a lot of senses.
That may be another reason I may not have finished that game.
Oh yeah, I mean, and the cool thing about, like, especially again Fallout 3, the great thing about it is like I can play Fallout. So I'll be full disclosure. I have played so many hours of Fallout 3 that I actually got the DLCs for free. Wow. Yeah, I think I clocked in at over 4,000 hours on Fallout 3. It's I think the only game that I have more hours in is Oblivion and Skyrim. I really like solo RPGs, in case that has not been made clear in the last 200 episodes of Focus Fire. But so like with Fallout 3, like the greatest thing that I love about it so much is that every time I play it, I can have a completely different experience of the same game. Based on not just decisions for my skill set, but basically also based on decisions of, hey, I want to kill this NPC. No, I want to keep this NPC. Like, you can actually affect what happens within the wasteland in a single battle. And that's, to me, that's just, I love that. You actually see long-term effects made on decisions that you make early in the game that you don't even realize the repercussions until later in the game. Mm-hmm. And that's why if you look at like guides for Fallout, they're always like huge, massive books, because basically every decision that you make within the game will have ripples of some kind. And you have to be cognizant of those ripples to a degree. And I mean, either way, either you're going to be, you'll either be a chaotic evil, or you'll be, an evil character, or you'll be a paragon. Like, you can play these different paths, and they're 100%, if you understand the karma system and understand how that all affects each other, But the thing is the great thing about Fallout is that at the end of the day, you have to make a choice. And that's what I love about it, is like, it doesn't let you just, vote present. You have to make either, like with the Megaton situation, you either have to blow up the town or you don't. If you blow up the town, you destroy first off, you're going to incur significant negative karma, but you also will lose access to a large number of vendors because they're dead. And later in the game, that might be important. But if you choose to not blow up Megaton, you piss off the guy who assigned you the task to do it. And so then there's repercussions, because then he basically starts sending hitmen after you. And you have to deal with that repercussion as well. Like the paths that you choose actually do have tangible results within the game. Yeah, chat right now.
Who else blew up Megaton?
Who else blew? Preston. There's a number of different quests where like you basically have the option to kill the quest giver, and like. Oh. Like I mean, again, going back to, it's Mad Max. Like it's right. It's a chaotic world that Fallout exists in, and so one of the things is like there really isn't anything that's not allowed in game. Like it doesn't get graphic. It's not adult or anything like that. But like as far as like you can attack anybody, there's no one that's like like a lot of games will be like, oh, you can't kill that person because they're essential. Fallout really, I think there's a few figures that you can't do that to, which is explained in game. Like they basically are like, oh no, we're going to take all your weapons away while you talk to us. Like, there's an explanation of why, but like, there are very few characters that are actually quote unquote immune to being killed. And you can really screw up your campaign if you kill the wrong person, which is again, really realistic, and one of the big things I like about that series.
Is there a companion system like there is in Skyrim? Because Skyrim is probably my closest comparison to that.
They have been building it out. Fallout 3 had a really rough one. Fallout New Vegas, I didn't play Fallout New Vegas as much. I don't know. I'm pretty sure you have a companion. Yes, you do. You have companions in New Vegas because that's actually definitive endings. There's a few that are based on the if you allow your companion to survive or not. Fallout 4, you have the dog, which is the most annoying companion ever.
I don't know. The first companion you get in Skyrim is pretty dang annoying.
No, the problem is
Lydia.
Yeah, but see, Lydia you can plant somewhere. The dog you can't.
Oh.
Like Lydia, you can tell her to like stay in the house or whatever. Like you can find a corner to put Lydia in, and she will stay out of the way for the most part. The dog in Fallout, you like, I'll be like, sit. And then like something happens, and the next thing I know, he's like off running across the wasteland. I'm like, oh my God.
Why? That's so man.
Mr.
Look,
House.
you guys are talking about this, and I'm sitting over here like Resident Evil 5.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
Let's not.
Yeah. I mean, as far as games go, I am not a huge proponent of companion. Like it's just my play style doesn't make it easy.
At least dog meat would just run around and be stupid.
Right.
Like,
but then you always felt inevitably you always felt bad when dog meat got himself killed.
Yeah, because it was a dog. Meanwhile, I'm looking at Sheva going, "Stop wasting my 22 rounds. Stop it. Stop it."
I don't know. I don't.
But at least Ashley in RE4 didn't waste your freaking ammo.
That's true. Because she didn't have a firearm. She was pretty helpless, though. No, because and I mean, like, because dog meat. That was 3, wasn't it? Was 4? Was that dog meat as well? Did they call both of them dog meat? Because I know you can get dog meat in 3. But in 3,
at least 3.
The fun thing in 3 was if dog meat dies, you can go and find a puppy. And it you basically refer, like, I don't know if it was canonically referred to, but basically a lot of people refer to him as dog meat and then enter integer. And so it'd be like Dogmeat 3, Dogmeat 4. Like, I mean, and because Dogmeat, he was the dog a companion available in 3, he wasn't forced on you like he is kind of in 4. But, like, if you chose to have Dogmeat, you could actually get different perks from him. But one of the biggest problems with Dogmeat in Fallout 3 was he would constantly get himself killed. Like, he was just ridiculously aggro towards everything, including Deathclaws. And that's just, you don't go near Deathclaws.
Goodness.
Except, which is the weird thing about Fallout 4, because one of the first things you fight is a Deathclaw. It scared the ever-living daylights out of me. Because Fallout 4 is built around it's not only built around the Farmville aspect of building communities, it's also built around power armor. So Fallout 4, you actually, your character, the sole survivor, one of the base equipments that they have is a power suit, which is really new. You can kind of like acquire power suits through the earlier titles, but you never actually have like a full blown power suit that I'm aware of. You might have in one of the tactics games, but like as far as the
you get pieces of a suit.
Yeah, because in 3 you can cobble together something, but you don't, like in 4 you have to have the nuclear reactor to power it.
Right. Well, I'm going to say you have the armor pieces, but you also need to make sure that you don't get encumbered by actually wearing
Right.
them.
Yeah. Because
Meanwhile, you're
in 4 it
not
doesn't
actually
even count.
running around with the fusion reactor in the thing to make it work.
But yeah, in Fallout 4, one of the first things you do after you get the power suit is you fight a Deathclaw, and it was like everything in my head was screaming klaxons because I played Fallout 3. You avoid those things until you have like the most powerful weapons, because they're one of the most powerful figures like in the game, in the Fallout 3 title. That was something you gave a wide berth to. So that was a strong memory of Fallout 4, was me screaming when I first saw the Deathclaw come through the wall. Oh man. Yeah, Deathclaws. Which actually, I guess I'm gonna we've kind of mentioned a couple of these factions. I do want to go through some of the major ones real quick. We kind of talked about the Enclave a little bit. Really to kind of finish that particular one off. The Enclave is, like I said, it's the organization that claims to be a continuation of the pre-war federal government of the United States. So they often will style themselves to be the United States of America. Predominantly, the Enclave is made up of descendants of both the original members of the shadow government that controlled the U.S. before the Great War of 2077, as well as representatives of powerful companies. So you'll see figures that call back to Vault Tech and another company called Poseidon Energy, for example. As a whole, the Enclave views themselves as being the last known concentrated bastion of pure unmutated humanity, and basically other than the unopened vaults, as well as being the most technologically advanced faction in the Wasteland. So what this kind of translates into is they are very isolationist. They really don't communicate with other factions other than to go to war with them. They definitely don't allow people into their ranks, which actually creates a bit of a problem. And it's why the Enclave is arguably one of the least populous figures out there. They don't have a lot of people in it. However, they make up for the lack of manpower because they have extremely formidable technology, which is why
to be fair, needed manpowder too.
Which actually explains the event at the end of Fallout 3, which is where you find out that the Enclave is being led by an AI device. So you actually find out that President Eden is actually it's a device called Zax, which was freaking Zax. It was an AI that was basically put in place to allow for the continuation of government in the event of a mutually assured destruction. which is exactly what happened. And so Zax is leading the Enclave until you kind of pulled the plug on him. Major opponent to the Enclave is really the Brotherhood of Steel, and Brotherhood of Steel is throughout, like, they're in pretty much every single title. Well, they are in every single title now because 76 has them. So the Brotherhood of Steel is kind of a quasi-religious technological military order. They have roots with the United States Armed Forces and various other government-sponsored scientific communities from before the Great War of 2077, and they predominantly are located within the North America wasteland. Due to the history of experimentation with the FEV, they are really, really against the Enclave. They basically... even though at the time when the Enclave really kind of came into power, the Brotherhood was kind of in the decline, they have enough people, and they also have all the power suit armor to kind of be the kind of on equal footing with the Enclave. As an order, the Brotherhood really holds strongly to the tenets of the eradication of mutants and the veneration of technology, which is where the Brotherhood of Steel come in. Also, their logo is one of the coolest logos ever. It's a pair of eagle or angel wings with cogs and a sword. I love their imagery. In the later years of the series, the view of the Brotherhood of not sharing technology with other Wastelanders kind of begins to deteriorate, and they actually begin building relationships with other factions and communities within the Wasteland, especially in the Capital Wasteland and the Commonwealth of the Boston, Washington, D.C. areas. And so they actually are starting to find, because up until that point, they viewed them as immature and not worthy of it. So that's where you kind of see in Fallout 4 where you actually acquire a full suit of power gear, is because the Brotherhood has kind of started kind of being more lax in their forbidding of sharing of technology. And really the other major player is the NCR, the New California Republic. The New California Republic has actually really got a pretty detailed past. They are a large federation of states that are held together through their beliefs in emphasizing and supporting a myriad of old world values, which include personal liberty, democracy, and the overall rule of law. This is actually one of the most populated factions. They have a total population of over 700,000 individuals, and they are based in modern day California, Nevada, Mexico, and along the Colorado River. And pretty much because of their geographical location, they are really dedicated to restoring a general sense of order to the overall wasteland, and that includes improving and further developing infrastructure and economic systems, as well as basically a basic common degree of peace between everybody, regardless of the faction that they belong to. The NCR actually is one of the factions that has probably the strongest connections to the protagonist that you see throughout the series, and that is because of their connection to the Vault Dweller, which was the protagonist from the original Fallout. Basically what the connection is that there is a town within the original Fallout in the remains of Vault 15, and this town is called Shady Sands. And what happened was the leader of the community was had their daughter kidnapped basically by raiders, and the Vault Dweller was responsible for saving the daughter. And this young girl would actually go on to become one of the future presidents of the NCR. So she is very enamored by the Vault Dweller because they literally saved her life. By pretty much all standards within the post-apocalyptic world, the NCR is a paragon of economic success and really good ethical characters, political enfranchisement, rule of law, and basically a reasonable degree of physical security and a standard of living. Opponents of the NCR kind of claim that they're just grabbing for power. The NCR strangely hasn't really responded to a lot of that in game. They kind of are more focused on really just supporting their communities, and it's actually it's just like I said, they have over 700,000 members within the faction as of the end of New Vegas. I'm not sure how they stand in Fallout 4 100%, but at the end of New Vegas, they're very, very powerful. which, speaking of New Vegas, actually brings me to Caesar's Legion. And Caesar's Legion is, to be simple, the pretty much exact opposite of the NCR. They are an autocratic, traditionalistic, imperialistic society that is built nearly totally around slavery and dictatorship. And really where they kind of got started was they were originally a scouting party for another faction called the Followers of the Apocalypse. And there was a figure who went by the name of Edward Sallow. And there was a scouting party of 9 people. They got kidnapped by a tribe of Blackfoots when they were trying to figure out something for the faction or the followers, and the Blackfoots had planned to originally ransom them back. Well, as time went on, basically there was a series of events which basically led to Sallow being able to take over and actually reorganize the tribes of the area, which is at that point he took on the title of Caesar. As you can probably guess, Caesar's Legion is pretty strongly reminiscent of the Roman Republic. And so through basically the original group and the original tribe of Blackfoots would basically over time grow through the enslavement of the other tribes in the area, which would then bring more and more into the thrall of Caesar, and actually becomes one of, if not the most powerful society east of the Colorado River, by 2271. This is basically 30 years after. I mean, it's a pretty impressive growth of power, basically. He gets kidnapped in 2241, and by the end of 2271, he has the most powerful warrior society in the North American wastelands. Even that being said, they actually get in a battle with the NCR over Hoover Dam, which is the first Battle of Hoover Dam in 2077, and are completely decimated. And so, but there's a huge story there. This all gets explained in New Vegas. So they lose the majority of their forces in 2277. By 2281, they had actually reestablished their power and basically came back and were like, nope, we're going to do it again. They actually get involved in what's called the Second Battle of Hoover Dam. And this is where the Courier, who is the protagonist from New Vegas, will actually determine the ending of New Vegas. So this is the ending of New Vegas is really the Second Battle of Hoover Dam, at which point your character determines not only who takes control of Hoover Dam, but exactly the flavor of how that all goes down based on the karma score that they have. Let me think. The Institute. Institute is from, we kind of talked about them a little bit, but the Institute is a faction comprised of advanced scientific organization members based in the Commonwealth, or the capital Commonwealth. It is known and feared for its ability to produce advanced synthetic humans, which are known as synths in the game. And basically the problem with these, and Beard, you're going to love this one, is that they are of high enough quality to pass as humans. They are basically replicants. The other problem with the Institute is that they are extremely secretive. For the majority of Fallout 3, which is actually where they get introduced, you actually don't hear anything of them. I think there's one mission in Fallout 3 where you actually can save a synth, which will bring me to the railroad here in a second. But that's the only thing you hear about, really, the Institute. They're not a major component of Fallout 3. They are mentioned. But in Fallout 4, like we had mentioned, the major part of the story of the Sole Survivor is the Institute because of the connection between Father and the Sole Survivor. That being said, because the ending of 4 is a Fallout title, we don't really know the actual ultimate end of the Institute, because we don't really know where that goes. The Railroad is an underground movement. I kind of already mentioned this. The Railroad is basically the movement that is like, hey, those synths are sentient, and so they deserve freedom. And so it's a callback to the Underground Railroad. I mean, that's what it is. You actually encountered the Railroad as the Lone Wanderer and the Sole Survivor. So that's Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. The Railroad is present. Really, that's kind of that's all you know about the railroad. They're actually even more secretive than the Institute. Again, they're not a faction as much as just a movement of individuals. The last one before we get into the 76 factions, the factions that are introduced in Fallout 76 is the Followers of the Apocalypse. So these are the group that sent the scouting party that would become Caesar's Legion. This is a faction that is based in New California, and they're very strongly established in the Mojave Wasteland. And really, honestly, they have the goal of basically tending to the inhabitants of the wasteland. They're very they're not pacifists, but they have a very strong tendency to appear that way. They really just want to keep. They serve as keepers of knowledge. They're very medically advanced. They really do actually take care of people medically and socially and stuff like that. They're very all about trying to not allow nuclear war to ever happen again. Surprise, that's not a huge surprise. It shouldn't be. That should be said though, they're also, whereas all these other factions are very isolationist, the Followers of the Apocalypse are actually very open. They don't care. They're very open to different factions interacting with them. They're very open to that. They want to share knowledge as much as they can, as long as that knowledge doesn't result in another war, which you can see there is a bit of a conflict between the Followers and Caesar's Legion. The Followers, even though they are kind of pacifistic by nature, they often they don't hesitate really if they get threatened. And that includes themselves and their ideals. So if you are being assisted by a follower of the Apocalypse and someone threatens you, that follower will defend you as much as themselves. The Followers of the Apocalypse and the NCR are kind of in that same karmic quadrant as far as the Apocalypse or the Wasteland is concerned. And that's really the factions within. Those are the major factions. There's raiders, there's ghouls, there's all sorts of other different groups, but these are the major organized factions within Fallout 2, 3, and 4. Which brings me to Fallout 76, which is where we see a couple of introductions of a couple new ones. Those are the responders, the first responders, which are often called the responders, and the free states. Both of these, by the time Fallout 76 takes place, both of these are actually extinct factions. So you don't actually get to really interact with the factions in particular, but you can learn about them through the game so far. The first responders was really literally exactly what it sounds like. It was an organized volunteer group that was made up of basically first responders, which is firefighters, police, medical, EMT staff, and what happened was these were all individuals who set up the emergency aid stations throughout various towns, and really kind of their goal was to provide medical assistance and necessities to any survivors of the Great War. And they kind of appeared around 2082. So, there was that period of time which nothing was going on after 2077. And then around 2082, they kind of pop up. The problem with the first responders is because they're actually pretty competent, because they're first responders and they actually have a pretty good knowledge of medical tech. They actually kind of have an uneasy relationship with the Brotherhood of Steel, because the Brotherhood of Steel was often responsible for kind of stealing the more competent members of the responders from that faction and letting them join the Brotherhood. Though this basically kind of never really goes anywhere because they have the common enemy of what's known as the Scorched or Scorched Beasts. And this is a antagonistic force that is really introduced in Fallout 76. It's called the Scorched Plague. I don't know a lot about it because I'm not really well versed in the 76 lore just yet. But I do know that from what I've been able to put together, the responders are responsible or were responsible for really kind of spearheading a search for a vaccine against this plague. Ultimately, they fail because by the time Vault 76 opens in 2102, they're gone. They're extinct. No one knows anything, or the responders are no longer there. Which brings me to the last faction I really wanted to mention, which is the Free States. The Free States are basically doomsday paranoia tinfoil hatters. And they were a group of local survivalists that gathered in the area of West Virginia prior to the Great War. And actually, apparently, I think it was in 2076 or the beginning of 2077, they had actually declared that they were seceding from the United States.
Oh my god. That's funny, actually.
Oh, it's hilarious. It's hilarious reading the actual like full history of the Free States, because they're like, yeah, they actually called it. Like, they called everything that was going to happen in October of 2077. And they had built their own bomb shelters. They had, these are the stereotypical off the grid tinfoil hat, conspiracy theorist. And they were right, which is just, I love it. So they survive the nuclear attack and all the subsequent fallout in self-constructed concrete bunkers. And then they are actually one of the first to emerge because they show up in 2079. So they show up 2 years after the 2077 war and rebuild a town. This town is called Harper's Ferry. And because they're survivalists, they're very skeptical of outsiders, but they did actually kind of have a tenuous connection with the Responders and the Brotherhood of Steel, which, again, 76, those are kind of the major factions there. What's sad is that in 2102, which is basically right before Vault 76 is opened, they get wiped out by the Scorched. So Harper's Ferry is completely wiped off the map. They go then, and they manage to survive that attack. They go to perform a counterattack against the Scorched and completely just get eradicated. So the Free States are the survivalists, basically ultimately don't survive, which is kind of a sad ending to a interesting story. But that's really
a lot of information.
Yeah, that's not even touching on the vaults in depth. Like I said, there's some really fun vault stories.
You mentioned that the vaults were like experiments, just locations for the experiments. Were they primarily experimenting on like the human development within them, or like
so they were that's the
what
argument.
I've actually been going through while you guys have been kind of talking
like
about
the experiments and stuff. Yeah, it's like
through those.
It's a combination really of like the effects of the effects of like FEV, which is FEV is that forced evolutionary virus.
Right.
Like it was Vault-Tec, and this kind of goes back to the quote that I had started like way back from the Bible, the Fallout Bible 0, I think, is the one that I quoted. Yeah, like chat Fallout 108 or Vault 108. Like it's like they don't really have there's not a lot of cohesive experimentation going on. And it's explained in game because basically there was the Great War of 2077 happened, and then there was something called the Great Static, the Static of 2077, which is basically the destruction of like all records. And so as a part of that destruction, a lot of the information about like the setup of vaults by Vault-Tec was lost. So we don't really in game know why they're doing it, and out of game they're like, yeah, it was just because we want it to be creepy, and kind of there isn't a rational explanation really.
Like, here's a few examples just to kind of rattle them off. One is an unfinished vault that was designed to test a variety of prototype devices with the aim of rolling them out through the rest of the vaults. The prototype devices included a soda fountain that dispensed appetite-reducing drugs, electricity-generating exercise bicycles, subliminal messaging integrated in optometrist equipment, and others. another populated largely by renowned musicians, the vault was a test bed for a white noise-based system
Which
for
was the most
implanting
What?
combat-oriented post-hypnotic suggestions.
So what they did was they
And
put musicians in the vault and then basically played nonstop white
Aw.
noise over
Yeah.
everything. Like
Poor
it's,
musicians. I feel bad for them. That is
oh
terrifyingly
no, that's
terrible.
not even the worst. Like that's the thing is like
That sounds
there's
awful. That sounds
there's
like
one
the worst.
vault. There's one vault that they overcrowded it deliberately. So like I said, there was 1,000. There was a capacity for 1,000. They shoved 2,000 people into it.
2000 and
Jesus.
there was one where it was 20 men, 10 women, and a panther.
And a panther.
A panther?
I love that
Yeah.
one. That's mentioned in the webcomic.
Why?
because because why
one of
not?
the-
Oh my
One of the new
God.
ones, apparently, that's listed from 76, which is Vault 94, says, founded on the principle of faith, nonviolence, and communal life in harmony with nature, residents were not required to belong to a collective faith. Each person was free to walk their own path. The vault was supplied with an abundance of resources to restore the bounty of the earth. It was hoped that the residents would rebuild the belief that humanity is naturally good. 1 year after the Great War, on October 23rd, 2078, the vault reopened. Following a prayer by Pastor Gabriella for the victims of the war, she gave her blessings to the vault ambassadors that were being sent out into Appalachia. Opening the vault after 1 year, not a good idea.
Oh gosh.
There are several others too that lose their reactors over the course of time. And then, of course, they are otherwise subjected to flooding from their water chip systems that will close down or not
Water
be able
chips.
to really filter a problem. They will also have it where they'll be in a hotbed of radiation. Eventually, the reactor isn't able to filter that stuff out, so then they're just sitting in radiation and nothing else. It gets worse and worse and worse.
As the numbers go up, it kind of gets weirder. It's just, I mean, oh my gosh. The ones that are mentioned in specifically in game are 13, 101 and 111, and then obviously 76.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that we actually have or actually see and can play in. I think there's a few that you can find within Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 that you can actually, I think, get into. But they're not you don't actually start in them. Fallout 3 has one of the best opening kind of missions because you actually you experience growing up in the vault. And it's kind of cool. It's it's a time lapse, obviously, but you go through, you actually start the game as an infant, and you go through the toddler stage, and then you go through I think it's 5 or 6 year old, and then 8-year-old. It's really kind of a cool little kind of way of showing what was going on, and the kind of not really creepy, but not really okay things that they were doing in the vault, and just kind of it really set the tone for Fallout 3, and then Fallout 4, obviously you don't really experience anything because you're in cryogenic stasis. Then you have Vault 106, where they release psychoactive drugs into the air filtration system 10 days after the vault was sealed. So have fun with that one.
I think by far my favorite is one person was sealed in.
Oh God!
A box of puppets.
Puppets?
Yeah, one man and a crate of puppets.
Yep.
I thought
I thought you were going to go with the Garys.
No, No, I think I like the puppets a little better.
Gary's?
So it's
This is a really messed up game, guys.
oh my gosh, it's hilarious.
That's putting it nicely.
Yeah.
There's
Vault 108 was all initial positions were left unfilled, allowing the terminally ill overseer, Brody Jones, who is estimated to expire within 40 months of the vault's ceiling, to fill them, and according to vault protocols, creating a unique experimental situation. The vault failed as a result of cloning experiments designed to replicate whole humans, instead creating, quote, Garys.
What?
They're all the same. It's literally just like carbon copies of each other.
Mhm.
Stormtroopers.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So the vaults actually there's a number of different stuff going on in the vaults. And again, you know, like I had read from the Fallout Bible 0, really honestly they kind of attribute it to the primary Tim, who is really kind of like, I think the initial kind of creator writer. They're like, yeah, we're pretty sure that he had just watched an X-Files episode. Like that's like, I mean, that's literally kind of what they're doing. Like they just basically were going over the top. They're trying to be a little bit creepy. And really that was kind of it. Like that was kind of their point was, and these vaults ultimately, while they were being portrayed, like Vault 76 is really strongly here portrayed as like the bastions that are going to save humanity after the Great War or after the event of a thermonuclear attack. That really wasn't the case. There was by no means enough vaults created. I think there was only, quoted, there were only like 200. There were supposed to be only 200 or 220 or something like that created. So there's nowhere near enough vaults to actually, you know, save humanity. Like that wasn't the actual point. The point was the social economical experiments that they were doing. And I mean, like you know, just what Beard has read off the top, like they run the gamut of like kind of silly to really downright creepy. But yeah, there and again, like I said, there's two wikis that I really refer to as Nukipedia and the Vault. I will include those links, and you can definitely dig into the different vaults. We know of in game several. Like there is a long list of vaults that we do know about throughout the different titles. A lot of them you don't see in the games as much as they are mentioned in the Bible. So arguably they're technically canonical, but they're not in game yet.
Interesting. It's like, I don't know, it's just a lot more than I was expecting, story wise.
Oh yeah. There's a ton. But but yeah, so Chris, the Bible that I quoted was Chris Avalone. And that was back in 2002. So that was one of the first iterations of a game Bible, was that particular book.
So where did the Bibles come from, or is this just
they're just
like
collection? They're just collection of documents that basically they got all the background material for the first game. It's a really common thing that developers will do for massive, or I mean not even massive games, but like for any game really. You generally will have a collection of resources, and over time, you know, again, Fallout's been out for over 2 decades. Over time, that collection of documents gets pretty big, and so what you'll often see is, and this isn't just game development, you'll have this in RPGs, like tabletop games. I don't know a single DM who doesn't have a game Bible of some kind.
Right.
And obviously over 20 years that collection gets pretty big. And so what you'll start seeing is like different quote unquote iterations or different versions of Bibles. And that's just basically organized notes that explain why the series or the game is in the state that it is currently in.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still spinning a little bit. Like when you're like, oh, summary of this game, I'm like, oh, it's post-apocalyptic, trying to survive. You lived in a a hole for a while.
I mean,
That was like
that's a
that's
very
like-
very simple summary of the game.
yeah.
Poor
Yeah,
naive
that was what-
child.
I know, right? I feel like
My-
I've been slightly tricked into this, but at the same time, I feel
You
like
had
my education as a gamer is.
You had access to the 10 pages I wrote.
I did, and I did look it over, and I started reading, and I went, "Oh, this is going to be one of those episodes." All right.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's good.
I
A lot of good stuff.
I seriously, I love the Fallout series because, you know, Beard and I were kind of talking about this at the beginning. It's like it's this like really unique combination of really serious stuff, like I mean, really serious, really dark, really heavy choices, and it challenge. Like if you actually play it, like if you give it time and you play it as like an actual RPG, you can get challenged with a lot of questions that will actually call into question, you know, different things about your personality, which I love playing games that do that. But then also there's a number of just like tongue-in-cheek just poking at pop culture references. Like Fallout 2 is got so many references to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's just hilarious. Like there is an actual level in which, I don't know how familiar people are with the Hitchhiker's Guide, but there's a character who is falling through the air and turns into a plant, and then turns into a whale, and then turns it like there's a series,
Right.
and then they die.
Potted plant.
Yeah, so it dies. Well, there is a level in Fallout 2 where you will literally go inside the carcass of a whale in the middle of the wasteland, and there's a potted is it a petunia? Is that what it was ultimately?
It's a petunia.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
there's a potted petunia on its skull, like on the top of its skull. Like it's a direct nod to the Hitchhiker's Guide. And there's several of these just like thrown out there, and it's just some of the greatest collection of Easter eggs really out there. Chat, oh my sweet summer child. But yeah, and that's really where it's like, so you can get like this really unique and really cool combination of both like really heavy story and really silly events that just kind of make you giggle at the same time that you're like traumatized by what you just did or what you just experienced. Because death claws are terrifying, ultimately.
Are death
Which, by
claws
the
like
way,
crabs in Skyrim.
No,
or
no,
Oblivion?
that's rad roaches. Rad roaches are just meh. No, death claws are like, so you remember the Dremora from Oblivion, like the upper level Dremora that you saw and you immediately turned around and ran. That's a death claw. Like death claws are like, no, they're but I completely forgot. I was talking to one of the guys I work with who's a big fan of Fallout. I completely forgot that in Fallout 2 there's a sentient deathclaw.
Really?
Yeah, and it's apparently like I completely forgot about this because it's been so long since I've played Fallout 2. But like apparently it's a really nice NPC. Like it's really, really funny. Yeah, you've never met fear until you've seen a deathclaw. Oh my god, Fallout 3, like I said, teaches you do not mess with deathclaws, like, at all. Oh, okay, Icehawk is correcting me. It was an entire colony of sentient deathclaws. That the Enclave, okay, so that was all because the Enclave and the Unity, which is, that's a whole different, that could be a whole episode in and of itself. But, yeah, so, welcome to Fallout. Check your sanity at the door and enjoy yourself. That's all I got.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. That's a lot. That's okay. I'm gonna need to sleep and decompress.
I will be honest, I will attribute my love of solo RPG video games to Fallout 3 and basically Bethesda, really. Like Elder Scrolls, Elder Scrolls was obviously because of my connections with like D&D and stuff like that. As far as fantasy, is just I love it. But Fallout 3 was one of the ones that it was like it scratched the Mad Max itch. Like I don't know if anyone else really kind of has that, but like Mad Max, it's just been always a really big fascination. It's a very gritty variant of a dystopian future. Which is it's completely different. Like you have Blade Runner, and then you have what's the other one? Ghost in the Shell, and all these other like equilibriums and stuff like that, which are like dystopians, definitely. But they're operational dystopians, and then you have Mad Max, which is just the complete like Thunderdome, like just bloodthirsty, gritty. I'd argue a little bit more realistic. What would happen in future if something actually did go wrong. And like that's always been a somewhat interest for me. And so Fallout, when I found Fallout, way back when, I was just always something. And then I played Fallout 3 on the 360, and like I said, I've put in thousands of hours onto that game, and it's still one of my favorite games.
Dang.
Yeah, Metro. Metro is another one. I think it's on the poll. Metro Exodus is coming out. Yeah, Metro the
Let's
series.
Not say we did.
Oh my gosh, you want to talk about lawlessness? Oh, I love Metro for that purpose. But yeah, so yeah, if you want to hear me geek out about another one, that's definitely up there with Fallout as far as like crazy lore, and that's because it's I blame the Russian developer on that. Like it's based around Russian storytelling, which is brutal.
Crazy already.
It's brutal,
dark.
Yeah,
Makes Brothers Grimm look easy comparison.
Yeah, Ice Hawk in chat's talking about it because Metro is based off a book. It's a book series, and yeah, it's the book series is exactly that. So yeah, definitely if you enjoy Fallout and you haven't played Metro, I would strongly recommend looking at that series, especially since Exodus will be coming out. Is that 2019? I believe 2020. Yeah, it's a great series. But I don't know, do you guys have any shout outs or final comments?
Several, actually.
Okay.
Go for it, Beard.
All right. First one actually goes to an artist in the community, Jake Myler. He actually just got done a marathon on Tuesday where he tends to draw pets, and sometimes he'll draw them with like their superhero variants and whatnot, if requested.
Mm-hmm.
But he was doing it for a reason this time. The grand total was $2,189.07, U.S. dollars, I should add, which was donated to the North Valley Animal Disaster Group. He is hoping that a lot of that will go towards pets and whatnot that have been displaced, thanks to the wildfires and everything that happened in California. Just to assist with helping with finding either new homes or existing homes, etc., for those pets that may have actually been lost because of those disasters. So really good cause that he did it for. It was just the other day that he did this. So really good on him that he took the time to strain his wrist in order to raise that much cash and drop some of our lovable little family that we have, our little pets and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big shout out to him.
If you're not sure who Jake Myler is, Watermelon XO is his other kind of handle that he goes by.
Yeah,
he's the one who does all the comics.
That's his main handle.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never actually looked at Watermelon XO before, I encourage you to do so. He is also one of the nicest guys I think I've ever had the pleasure of meeting too. So definitely, if you've never checked out Jake, now's your time. I have given you all the reason you need, so go do it.
Nice.
Next actually goes to new game that I'm starting to play, which I know I'm going to get a little bit of flack for, but I played the game back when it was on PC back in the day, and it was called Grand Chase. Well, they just recently re-released the title on mobile, and I would argue to say that it is fantastic. It is not a traditional mobile game that we have kind of come to know. They are actually very generous with what they are doing. And it's basically like, well, if it's one of those games where it's like, hey, if you want to give us some cash for the game, we're giving you reasons and we're being generous with what we're giving you with said cash, but we're already being generous with what we are offering you with the game itself. Most of the units that you were used to from the original game, they're basically giving you heavy chances to get a hold of them over the course of the first month. So if you were a fan like I was of the original game, you might like this one. It's challenging, it's fun. I definitely do enjoy it personally. And the last one goes out to the guys that we haven't heard from for a very long time on YouTube that has nothing to do with this channel whatsoever, and it is Epic Rap Battles of History.
Oh my
They
gosh,
just
yes.
they just came out with the rap battle for Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, and it was pretty on point. So definitely glad to start to hear from them again. I sit and I frickin' listen to their stuff over and over and over in my head as it is. But I just love the fact that they have that they're starting up again. And I guess one more late submission here too. If you guys are thinking about popping in for any other like Fallout lore relation or anything like that, Icehawk actually reminded me Shoddycast is a very good YouTube channel that actually covers a lot of Fallout lore. So if you're looking for an additional source, I've watched some of their stuff. I've liked it for the most part. If you're interested in checking out any other channels, there's another one for you. So that was weird. I actually had a lot of shout-outs for the
Yeah,
week.
you did. You're taking my spot this week because I actually really don't have much of shout outs. It was just kind of an echo about Jake's stream. He
Mhm.
did a piece for one of my clan members for of his a Chihuahua as a Iron Lord Chihuahua, which is freaking adorable.
That sounds so cute.
It's so adorable. I gotta send you a copy of it so you can see it because it's just one of those things like you're like, oh, and even Julie was like, I want one of Buddy as a guardian, and that's saying something for the wife that does not play this game at all, or
Right.
doesn't play Destiny at all. But that's all for me. Blue.
I am still finalizing schedules for December, but it's looking like we're going to take the week of the 21st off, and we are going to still have an episode on the following week, but it probably won't be live streamed the Friday. Like I said, I'm still finalizing that though, so don't quote me on that one, but I will get that updated in our Discord as soon as I possibly can. But yeah, that's pretty much my house cleaning end note there. Next week we will be doing an update on Mara, so that will be Green's opportunity to talk your ear off for 2 hours.
Yay!
She's very excited for this.
I can't believe what I'm
actually.
seeing. This is amazing.
So yeah. Again, thank you for letting me delve into 2 hours of overarching summary notes on Fallout. And I will get all the links I possibly can over in the show notes on our website as usual. I'll try my best to organize them in an orderly fashion. I do encourage on the website as well. We do have the forums, so that we've kind of opened that up to whoever. I believe it requires a follow on WordPress. I think we're still kind of working the kinks out on that one. But if you are interested in kind of helping chip in with various notes, and stuff on different topics, especially extra lore stuff. Please, definitely with extra lore stuff, because we definitely don't have the expertise in all the games that we have with. I hesitate to even say we have expertise in one game, but with the familiarity of what we have with like Destiny, or the various titles that those of us individually have. So yeah, I mean, all help is definitely welcome. And the cool thing about that is with the forums, that then naturally will create an archive of all the information we compile. So, that's nice too. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have. I'm going to say we will see you next week. And if we don't catch you next week, obviously hope your end of year is not too insane and you were able to get the vacation you needed for the holidays off, because yay.
Holidays.
Yeah. Holidays. Yeah. What are holidays, right? All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week. And as always, thanks for tuning in. With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. Links to our episode archives can be found at www.focusfirechat.com. Please be sure to email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com with any comments or questions for our team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback and a rating over on iTunes as well. Also, be sure to check out all of our amazing partner podcasts within the Guardian Radio Network over on theguardiansofdestiny.com. So until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.
I finally got the EP shoddy after they nerfed the dang thing.
I was gonna say you got that after they nerfed the heck out of Trench Barrel.
I mean, it's still really good.
It is, but it's certainly nowhere near as good as what it used to be. That's for sure.
Feels like a better Hawthorne shotgun is what it feels like. But because Hawthorne's Field Forge shotgun was what I ran constantly. And yeah, it was a random group, Hurt. I literally jumped into a random group because I was trying to work on the one of the Black Armory things where you get power weapon multi-kills. Mm-hmm. So I was just running EP because of all the thrall and everything. And got in a group that knew how to do everything. And there was like 5 of us, and we took out the ogres this week, and it dropped the first time we completed all 7. Yay! And I have most of the power weapon multi-kills. How many multi-kills do you have to get? Like how many kills do you have to get the multi-kill perk?
I don't know.
I'm basically running double shoddy, doing EP with people. Need to finish this. I want to see what it is. 2 to 3? 3 rapid kills. Yeah, that's why I put on Hawthorns, because I was using Dustrock, and it's just too slow firing. Stuck on the forge part. I haven't even gone to the forge yet, Hurt. This is like my first time seriously sitting down and trying to play this a bit.
Wait, power multi-kills you're having problems with?
Yeah.
Did we not get Thunderlord?
Does it count as or like not power but special? Oh, it is power multi.
Special? Yeah, I was gonna say if it's power multi-kills, why aren't you using Thunderlord?
Why
if it's special, then
why am I
using
that's special? Oh, I feel so dumb. I would have had this done really early tonight.
Yeah, I gotta say, because I thought it was power that you needed for those early quests. But
I have Thunderlord. Let me pull it out of my vault.
Yeah, don't put Thunderlord away. It's too viable for everything.
I haven't really messed with it all that much after I got
Oh
it.
my god, it's so fucking good.
I was getting some really good special weapon multi-kills. I was just hurting Thrall and getting 2 or 3 at a time. All right, let's go finish this real quick.
I gotta run. I gotta open tomorrow, so I got like
Mhm.
5 hours sleep here.
Yeah,
Night,
I gotta
dude.
take care of a minion tomorrow, and then next week's gonna be insane. So
I'm gonna finish this real quick, and then I'm going to go to bed because I'm gonna record all day tomorrow.
cool.
Woot.
Oh yeah, cool. Actually, I typed up the new Eva entries for the book. I need to share it with you if you want to
Yeah.
have those as a printable format.
Typed up Eva entries for the
The
book.
lore books from the Black Armory. We got 4 new pages. We got
Oh,
4
I
new
haven't.
pages to Evie or Eva.
Oh, like were they the ones that are on Ishtar already?
Yeah. I just
Okay.
formatted them out to be pages of themselves. So you have Last Day, Caretaker, Invisible Scars, and You Can Never Go Home Again.
Yeah, I think I've read Invisible Scars and one of the other ones. I was gonna record. Oh, shoot, which one was it? It's one of the other Awoken ones that would go with this next episode we're doing, but I can't remember. It was Dreaming City. I was gonna work on Dreaming City because we haven't done that one yet.
All right, guys. Good night.
Wow,
All right.
I did it in one shot. All right, that's done. Thank you guys.
All right, stream. We'll catch you later. Everyone have a great night, and like I said, we'll see you next week as well.
Bye.